And hello. Hi, everybody. It's Thursday, November 5th, 2015, and what time is it? It's game time. Welcome to episode number 5. Can you believe it, John? We made it to number 5 of John and Ted's excellent Gamecast.
I cannot believe it, actually.
I know, it's crazy, huh? Well, yeah, John's here. What's up, John?
Hey, how you doing? Everything's going well on my end.
Awesome. And we are joined today by a very special guest. We have Alex Cote here. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing? I'm good.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for being on. And
happy to be here.
Yeah, how was everyone's Halloween? That's the biggest question. Halloween happened last weekend. I mean, we're a little late to the party, kind of talking about it, but how was Halloween?
I went well at my house. One great kid about having, well, only 3 of the kids are old enough to go trick-or-treating, but you have them go trick-or-treating, they come home, and you get all the good candy.
Oh, yes. See, that's what I miss about Halloween is just the hordes of candy, the separating. And see, my dad used to steal my candy, and so my sister and I, so we'd hide it. Like, I'd take the bottom drawer out of my chest of drawers and put it underneath there or find a creative place, but he would hunt that stuff down and, like, steal all my candy.
My kids actually go out of their way because I love Kit Kats.
Oh,
like,
nice.
Oh,
Dude,
Dad,
they're so good.
Kat. I got a Kit Kat. You want one? I'm like, yeah. And then so they just come over and they hand them all to me. So I'm like, sweet.
Nice. So you're getting a good start on that winter weight putting on then, huh? I know I am.
Yeah, dude.
For sure. Like, I've already housed a few Snickers bars and whatever.
You gotta stay warm somehow, so that's
Exactly.
like the best option.
Mm-hmm. You got to put on that winter coat. Yeah, man. I went down to San Diego for Halloween. I was there this weekend, and man, every time I go to San Diego for Halloween, it is insanity. The Gaslamp District is just absolutely packed with thousands of people. Everyone from age 21, right, when you can go out to the bars, to age like 91. There's couples like just decked out in every Halloween costume. I mean, sexy zombies. I mean, I didn't even know that was a thing, I guess. But
is that possible?
It is, I guess.
Like,
yes.
theoretically.
Yes, theoretically it is. I mean, it was pretty funny. There was a sexy Donald Trump.
Great.
Nice.
Sure.
Nice. Is that the same area in San Diego where Comic-Con is, roughly?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was actually at Comic-Con as well this year. But yeah, man, it was just insanity. And Shauna and I, we were just kind of going through, just like, wow, it was crazy. But yeah, I said I've dressed up and done the whole downtown thing, but it was just a little much for me this year. Getting old, so. But no, I do love Halloween. I love candy, man. So I have a big bowl sitting next to me. So if you guys hear crunching in the middle of the episode, that's what that is.
What's your favorite one?
I dig Snickers. I dig anything like Skittles and all that junk too. So I mean,
it is actually junk. You nailed it.
Yeah.
It is actually bad for you.
What are you talking about? It's not bad.
Details.
Yeah, it's okay, right. Yeah, no, totally. Like, I mean, as you guys know, I'm a sugar fiend. Like every night I go to get frozen yogurt or some kind of ice cream. So candy kind of gives me a fix throughout the day, and then I have my ice cream at night. You see, perfect healthy. I mean, I'm a health guy.
I mean, I have such a sweet tooth. I totally relate. I'm like, oh, I ran out of cookies. What do I do? Go to the store. It's
bad.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what time it is. 3 in the morning. I have no cookies. I have to go to the store.
It's like I needed that now, and I have to go take care of it.
I also this weekend had the unfortunate thing happen to me of breaking my phone. So that was awesome. So I was phoneless for 2 days while out of town. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. But I did get the nice upgrade. I have the iPhone 6S now, so that's cool. I had the iPhone 5S before, but so yeah, I just fork over the cash and broken phone, lost everything on it. So it's all good. Luckily, iCloud's good.
You have the Apple whatever.
Yeah, the iCloud stuff. It's cool, but all of my contacts are good. But like all the pictures and stuff and anything like that was on the phone, is gone. Oh well. Time to reboot. Start it fresh.
Did you just drop it? Did it just like make an unfortunate contact with the ground?
Yeah, it actually raced me down the stairs, and it won.
Oh, that's incredible.
It won.
So you had that moment of like, oh no, as you saw it tumble
it's
in
all
front of you.
slow-mo.
Slow motion. Yeah, it was kind of like more. It was like on Ace Ventura, when nature calls, as Slinky down the million steps. Yeah, that's what
Oh
happened.
man.
Yep, that was more like it. But whatever. It's all good. So Alex,
Yeah.
let's do a quick little overview of yourself so everyone knows who the heck is just hanging out with us and invading their ears.
Well, I'm Alex. Hi, I'm a composer and sound designer, and I live in LA. And I've been working in the game and film industry, doing music for about 2.5 years, but it's been about 1.5 years in LA.
Nice. Nice. And just a quick thing, what would be your kind of MO on your style?
My MO, the style question. So I have a lot of answers to that.
We'll go deeper into that during the interview. But just a quick once over.
Probably like the general thing. My general stuff is I tend to lean towards like the sci-fi fantasy drama, and I can go into like the style question later because I have a lot to say about that. But yeah, I tend to live in my sci-fi fantasy drama. Those are like the things that inspire me the most. That's the music I tend to try to create or recreate. And that's what gets me amped up about doing music. So those genres, that style, that tends to be like pretty orchestral with like electronic elements tossed in there for fun.
Awesome. John, did you get that? Because you're the music guy.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely cool. Again, we've sat down and talked, and I've heard some of your music, which we'll probably hear again on the podcast, but it's pretty awesome. So I'm excited to have you here and excited to talk some video game stuff. You guys ready to get in it?
Yeah, man.
I want to give a shout out to the Broncos finally pulling off a real win.
Wow. Hey, we have to talk about that. Come on now. I couldn't believe it. Well, I mean, I could because they have Peyton Manning, and as down as he's been this year, he's still Peyton Manning, and their defense is insane.
Dude, they shut down Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is
really
ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, MVP status, and it was just
They held Aaron Rodgers to like 75 passing yards.
Yes, I think he had 77 total yards. His lowest total previous to that was 142.
Get wrecked, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, 146. Yeah, something like that. It was nuts. I was like, wow.
And a shout out to a fellow Aztec, Ronnie Hillman.
Mm-hmm. Ronnie Hillman did well. He had 2 touchdowns, I think, and then actually C.J. Anderson, the running back, actually coached him at Cal when I was a strength coach. So I know C.J.
really?
well. Yeah, so
that's cool.
He had over 100. I think he had 110 or something like that, and a touchdown. So yeah, the running game was in effect, and the Broncos. Wow, they are. 7-0 now. So.
Yeah. I mean, if they show up and play like they did that Sunday night, I think they could run the table.
Yeah,
so.
we'll see. I mean, even if they don't, they're definitely a shoo-in for a good spot on the playoffs. It's just I can't wait to see the AFC Championship game. Like if it's the Patriots versus the Broncos and see.
Well, November 29th is already marked on my calendar. It's the Patriots and the Broncos.
Oh yeah, I forgot
on Sunday night. So that's the game of the year right there for me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we will definitely probably have Skype up together, and we'll be watching that. As you know, Shauna is like a huge Broncos fan as well. She's from Colorado, so we're definitely going to be glued to the TV on that. So.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, no, you have to give a shout out to them because up to this point, they've been like barely squeaking out wins, stick to the Browns and stuff. And then you go over and just destroy the Packers. Good job.
I know that night I was like, well, we're going to see the Denver's first loss tonight. I was like, there's no way they're going to squeak out one of their
first quarter. It was just like, oh, hello, Broncos.
Yeah. I was like, well, if there was a night for Peyton Manning to show up, this would have been the night. So
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah,
also
definitely.
A shout out for Ed. The Buccaneers winning a game too. What?
Yes. Yeah. Ed, if you're listening, like seriously, good job, guys. And hence the title of your episode. Buccaneers fans do exist, and now there are more of them.
Exactly.
What do they have? 2 wins now? 3 wins?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's their win total in the last 10 years, something like that. Yeah. Zing, right at you, Ed. So, all right, guys, let's move on. Let's get into some news action. We got a lot of stories here today. A lot going on in the industry. It's that time. Games are coming out. Stuff's happening. So, yeah. So first off, we're going to just get this crap stuff out of the way. So Warner, as you guys know, publisher for Batman series, they're offering refunds again to the poor souls who bought Batman Arkham Knight on PC. Because as you know, when it came out, it was so broken, it didn't even work, and it was just a mess. And they issued refunds, and now they're issuing, about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, they issued a full patch that said, hey, we're going to fix the game. It still doesn't work.
Oh,
yeah. And so now Warner Brothers just gave up and said, you know what? Full refunds regardless of how much game you've played. If you beat the whole game, cool, we'll refund you. And
that's atrocious.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen this day and age? Like, how do you release a game that just totally bombed? Like, never mind it's glitchy or whatever, but so many people had so many problems with that thing.
Oh, yeah.
My son was telling me about it like a month ago or so or whatever. Like, all these people having problems with it. Like, how does that even get out the door?
Well, dude, Alex, as you know, 2014 was the year of the broken game. Like last year, every game was busted. It was terrible.
It was really sad. It was just it's ridiculous. I find it like really disappointing that this is happening. Like, I'm less angry and more just like, why? Like, is it just like publishers who are just pushing like things too fast, and it's like, well, we're never going to get the PC version out, or do they actually not care about it? Like, I don't know. And we will probably never know like what the cause of this is, but I mean, it's not good. It's really sad.
Like, you guys do have a QA department, right?
Right.
Like,
somewhere.
Yeah. Last year was, terrible. Everything from the Assassin's Creed to Drive Club, it was just an absolute mess. This year's been better, but then you have stuff that just hits the wall that's just so bad that you're just like, wow. And granted, it was a port. But it's still it's insane that this is allowed to happen in this day and age. Like, what if you shipped any other product out there that's like totally broken? Like, you ship a movie out that is just like, oh, they're missing half the scenes. That doesn't work.
Right.
Why? I mean, how does that even happen? You don't do that. So,
well, I think it's also really bad. Like, I'm sure it was a hard decision, but for them to be just flat out like giving full refunds, I mean.
Yeah, like
for a company, like, I don't know if that was the best move, because you should just have swallowed your whatever and been just trying to keep pushing out updates to get the thing fixed instead of being like.
Well, they did. That's the thing.
Everybody.
They first, because Steam rolled out a new refund policy recently, the last few months, and then so Warner, they jumped on that and said, hey, if you've played just like a couple hours of the game, like I think less than 4 hours or something, you can get a refund. And then they put a bunch of patches out, and they put a big new overhaul patch out. Well, that still didn't fix it. So then they just gave up, said, you know what, like, we're losing so much money on it. You guys are so pissed. So they offered that full refunds all the way to the end of the year, to December 31st.
Man.
And so you can still play the game, but there's a bunch of hard drive paging issues on Windows 7. And then this is ridiculous. It's so bad that Windows 10 users still require at least 12 gigabytes of RAM just to make sure the game plays without stuttering. I mean, it's just,
wow.
Yeah, it's like, what? Like, just so the game doesn't stutter. Not so it plays well, so it doesn't stutter. You need 12 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, there's something wrong going on with that.
Yep. Well, hey, sorry, Batman users. At least you get your money back. And go put it into something else awesome.
Before you buy a Warner Bros. Game again.
Right. Well, you know what? There's a lot of games coming out. You got Halo out. You got Call of Duty coming out. Fallout 4 coming out. Play some games.
Everyone's amped about that one.
Oh, yeah. We're going to our live stream is coming up soon on that. Excited. 24 hours. I'm already starting to ingest extra amounts of caffeine to prepare for that.
Oh, man.
He's banking the caffeine.
We're still storing it.
There's no other way to handle Fallout.
So we're going to kill it. So moving on, just a couple quick hitters in the sales department. Metal Gear Solid 5. Congratulations. 5 million copies sold in 1 month. Whoa.
Ooh,
it's very impressive.
Decent. So not bad there.
Decent.
Yeah,
It's a good day in the office.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, good success. I mean, granted, they probably put like $300 million into it, of dollars into it. So they're making at least some money back, which is good. So 5 million copies in a month. So.
Yeah, enough that they want to make a sequel, right? Like, even though Kojima's left, they're like, yes, we're going to make a sequel.
Sure, I mean, people
it's too much of a moneymaker.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we'll see what happens. I don't know if the IP goes along with Kojima or how that works, but we'll see. But yeah, and again, it's 5 million in the first month it went out, and it's still not even Christmas. So I mean, the Christmas sales are going to go up on it too.
Yeah.
So it's going to sell well. So and then recently, this last week, Halo 5, 400 million in sales globally in its first week, making it the biggest Halo launch of all time.
Wow.
Yeah. Good job, Halo.
Yeah, Halo.
Right? I know. So
Kudos.
I can't remember what the previous, I think in the article, I can pull it up in a second, but the previous biggest release was not even close to that. So Halo 5 coming out the gates hardcore, and that's good news for Xbox, since they kind of conceded to Sony in as far as the console install base race. So now they're just trying to get some sales and money. So
Well, that's where the money's at anyways, in the software. So
oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
might as well cash in on that instead of worrying about the hardware.
Well, yeah, back in the day how hardware used to work, like the big developers and the big companies for the hardware, they used to just take the hit on the hardware and make the games. But now the industry and kind of the landscape has shifted towards, hey, we kind of want to make a little bit of money on the hardware, or at least break even, and then push games, and then obviously this free-to-play model that we don't have to talk anymore about. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Sony lost a ton of money on the PS2s. When they were with the Blu-ray drives, they were losing $100 or $200 every console they sold.
Oh yeah, and when the PS3s first came out, it was crazy. Yeah, like I mean, I got a launch PS3, it was like $700, and I still have it. I mean, it's worth a ton of money now because it's like mint condition, still has the plastic on it. But
Nice.
Backwards compatibility. But that thing was like, it weighs like 50 pounds. It's just like full of just stuff, and they were taking a huge hit on that, and that's why they started off the gate slow. So pretty good. So good job, Metal Gear. Good job, Halo. Yay. So moving on, other stories. So this is kind of cool. I guess, as you guys know, the Wii U was a flop. Not so awesome. The one thing that's good on it is Mario Maker, which is pretty good.
It's a super cool game.
Oh man, this is so fun just to mess around with that. But Nintendo has always been kind of snooty and snobby when it comes to third-party developers. They're always like, "This is our stuff, it's what we do," and the Wii U basically stopped supporting third-party, and so now EA has had a long-standing relationship with Nintendo in previous consoles, and now a quote by the CEO of EA saying that they'll evaluate any and all opportunities for the NX, the new upcoming Nintendo platform, which is pretty cool. So that means, there's a quick stat here. It said that since the launch of the Nintendo Wii U, the EA has only launched 4 titles for the Wii U. That's it. And then, but for the Wii, they did 68 titles. So they totally just gave up on the Wii U. They didn't want to do anything with it. But now they're going to kind of reimagine what they want to do with the NX. So I think that's an interesting thing.
I think that could, this is really in between the lines, but they probably saw some early hardware, and I think they might be a little intrigued by it. So they might be like, we might be willing to throw our hat in the ring again if it works out,
For sure. Alex, did you play the Wii U or mess around with it at all?
So I've played briefly, but I never owned the console, so I've played with friends.
Exactly.
And
same.
I've never, Nintendo's great. I've never been their, biggest fan. But I would like to see, because the NX is in theory this mobile / console at the same time, right? That's super fascinating. And if they can pull it off really well, and Nintendo definitely does the best job with the mobile devices, like the Game Boy and all that stuff has always been the best of its kind. So I would love to see what they're coming up with, and I could totally see that inspiring EA to be like, oh, this is like a new marketplace. We could do really well with this new opportunity. So I think I'm all for it. I'd love to see Nintendo let more systems let more games come into their system, because it increases their own sales, and just why not include everybody? It's gonna be much cooler.
Right. Yeah. I think it's good. I mean, EA. The CEO Wilson, he didn't confirm any specific plans. Obviously, you're not going to tell exactly what he's doing. I know, yeah. So
he's going to get real vague. It's fine.
But he still did cite their history, and he said that, hey, you know what, the NX. He kind of alluded to what John was saying, that it's intriguing, and then they'll definitely explore options with moving into that, which is good because Nintendo's going to need some third party support this time. They're not going to have to rely on their games, even though their install base and their fans they're going to eat up everything they put out, and they do make quality products, but they can't just lean on that. You have to. The market is so large now. There's so many third-party developers, indie developers, people out there who can contribute good content to your platform. But if you kind of just alienate them, then you alienate a huge portion of the audience. So I think now hopefully Nintendo will make that move. They're crazy though, but hopefully they'll make the move into utilizing third parties and these big ones too. Big publishers and big companies like EA, because that'll only help them.
They're such an interesting company because they're when you compare them to like Sony and Microsoft, you're looking at like this console that's totally unique to what it is. It's like they aren't even really competing with Sony and Microsoft.
No.
You always have like the PS4 and Xbox are just like battling it out, and that's great. But then like Nintendo's over there just like,
hey.
yeah, we made this thing. It's got like motion sensors, and you guys didn't really do that, or you didn't do it well.
Or
so
they're
here's
like,
this
hey,
cool
let's just make some of the craziest, weirdest thing ever because we don't care.
Yeah, they shoot for the skies, and which is awesome. And sometimes they miss, and that's fine. But at least they're like trying to go for that. I've always been, I always want their graphics to be better. I'm like, can we just like increase the power of the engine because that'll give you so many more opportunities, and we'll also let those third-party games that are being developed for Microsoft and Sony platforms to be ported over more easily, so you have like the same experience as you would on one of those.
Yeah, you don't have to develop down to those consoles, right? They're always like the half step. It's like you got the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, all that stuff, the third iteration. Then you have like the Nintendo version of like in that console is like the half in between it, like right in between. It's never like quite next gen. It's like in between the previous gen and the current gen. It's like right in there, the technology. It's kind of funny. But,
I think it's because they, since they are, it almost seems like they weren't worried about third-party developers with like the Wii and the Wii.
No, they never were. Yeah.
And they basically, customized the hardware to suit their needs for their games and to make them great. And so they're like, hey, if you guys want to use our system, here you go. Here are the specs. Here's what you have to deal with. If it doesn't kind of work for you, then either work around it or, retool some of your stuff to get it to work on our system. But we're not catering to you. Like, our stuff works great on it, and that's what we're worried about. And then so by not always having the latest and greatest hardware as like the PS4s or the Xbox Ones, they put more effort into like the design or the functionality, other functionality than just the hardware.
Nintendo, just go back to an 8-bit console. Come on.
Exactly.
Who cares? We'll play that. So, all right, back to the old consoles. Hey, Sega's back.
Sega.
Yeah, kind of. This kind of goes back to the sales. Yeah, as you guys know, Sega has been just interesting over the last like 5 to 7 years. Just all over the place, losing money, changing direction, terrible Sonic games, terrible ports. All these things have been interesting for them business-wise. Well, you know what? Over the previous 6 months, from April to September of this year, they recorded a profit. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! So even though they had an overall sales dip, so their overall sales from the same time frame was 1.3 billion to 1.2 billion, so down 2.5%.
Oh, that's
but
rough.
this time, yeah, right. But this time, no, but it is actually not bad because this time they reported a $7.9 million profit compared to a $23 million loss last year.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Yeah,
that's a
exactly.
big, $30 million swing. So so
Yeah, wow.
yeah, so good job, Sega. Whatever you guys are doing, keep it up.
Man.
Because it's always good when Sega's in the mix, even though they're
About
just,
the Dreamcast too.
yeah, there you go.
Dreamcast
Dreamcast 2 for sure. Exactly. I play some crazy taxi action on that.
NFL 2K, baby.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, this story drives me nuts, and I have to thank Star Wars for this crap. The Warcraft movie trailer, right? They made a teaser trailer for the trailer. And no, not only that, they had get this.
How meta.
There was no. It's even more meta.
So
than this.
meta.
No, get this. There was a press release for the announcement of the pre-trailer to the movie.
Man. How deeper you can get into
Marketing is getting ridiculous.
They're
And I do
mind-gaming
marketing
you to death.
for my company. That's what I do. And it's getting to the point where it's ridiculous. Come on. Thanks Star Wars for like putting all these teasers out and like making the trailers events. Like now people are going to use that model. It's, oh man, I just couldn't believe it. But yeah, I mean, the trailer is going to be cool. I mean, awesome. I mean, I'm excited for the movie. I mean, I'm definitely going to see it. but it's just like, come on, dude. Like, really? Like, yes. I even saw the trailer, like the teaser of the teaser, and it's maybe like 15 seconds long. It just shows like screenshot, like a quick like 2-second action, word, 2-second action, word, 2-second action, Warcraft.
Oh.
Yeah, so you're done. All right.
Well, did you guys? Well, Warcraft. This is like related, but did you guys ever see like they released like an AR trailer for Warcraft for like your phone, and you look at it, and you're flying a griffin into Stormwind, and you can just turn the phone and see the wings and like look around. It's like actually really cool.
That
I don't know.
sounds kinda
I'll
cool.
see if I can find it so you guys can link in the show notes. But like really. That was a cool trailer.
That's
I was
kinda
really
fun.
impressed by that because
See, that's different.
Yeah, they're putting like AR with it and making it like more of like a video game than a movie, which I thought was really really fascinating. So cool trailer. See if you can find it.
Awesome.
Flying the Stormwind is fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I had my WoW days for sure. Most of us have, but
Yes.
yeah. Well, I mean, the movie it comes out June 10th, 2016, but it's been pushed a bunch of times. So, like, it was originally scheduled for December 18th this year, and they moved it back to March.
Because Star Wars.
Yep, Star Wars just destroyed December.
And get swallowed up.
Yeah, they were smart with that. So they moved to March, and then they're like, we need more time, and then they pushed it to June 10th. I guess the studio was like, hey, that's okay. That's the same date that Jurassic World was released, so they must like us a little bit. So, I mean, yeah, I just thought it was kind of funny, just like the press release to the conference that announced the teaser to the trailer of a movie.
Yeah, it's heavily overkill, but is this what the world is coming to?
Yeah,
We'll find out.
We shall see? Question mark.
Well, I mean, probably. I mean, everyone has the attention span of a gnat anyway, so it's like no one's even going to remember.
Hey, don't diss a gnat like that. Yeah, gnats are pissed. Like, hey, we can focus longer than that. Seriously. Oh my god. Yeah, we'll see. You know what happens with that, but it was funny. But yeah, it looks cool, and I'll go see it. It's how it is. But yeah, Kevin Fimmel's in it. I don't know if you guys are into the show Vikings. You guys watch that show or heard of that show?
I don't know it.
Oh man, dude, I'm telling you, Alex, like you'll be hooked. It is the greatest show ever. Like,
all right.
I started watching it 2-3 years ago when it first came out, and yeah, man, it is so awesome. Like, I kind of fell off Game of Thrones this year.
Oh, really?
Because this season sucked. It was so boring. I mean, I've been a huge Game of Thrones fan. I used to throw Game of Thrones parties. Like, we used to just, like, take like big turkey legs and meat on the bone, and like you can only use a knife to eat. You couldn't use a fork or a spoon.
That's intense.
Yeah, it was like fun. Like, we just do stuff like that. But man, like this season kind of fell off. But Vikings, that show it's 3 seasons deep now, so in February.
Okay.
February is the 4th season, but I suggest it. Like it's on Netflix or Hulu.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll find that.
Dude, I'm telling you, it is fantastic. And that why I brought that up is because Kevin Fimmel is the main actor in it, and he's now he's the main guy in Warcraft as well. So
Nice.
yeah, but yeah, it's pretty cool. So you guys definitely.
Did you read the Game of Thrones books, Ted? Or
I did. My mom did. Did. I started. Actually, you know what? I read like maybe 120 pages of the first one, and it's just like, you know,
You gotta commit.
It takes a little bit to get going, but man,
Yeah.
once I got past like a quarter into the first book, I was like, I'm in, and I just mowed through all the
Right.
books.
Yeah, I did
And
the same, John.
Yeah, after reading all the books, though, I'm like, I haven't seen any of the show, but I'm like, I don't think I could. I'd be so disgusted by probably how much they cut out. Or
Well,
leave.
actually, yeah, this year in season 5, they announced, and it was true, they totally veered from the books because they've actually caught up to some of the story arcs earlier than other parts of the book, and like
Yep.
it's all off kind of now.
Yeah.
Kind of, so then now it's just like they're writing their own story now. So it's like they have their
okay.
characters, and they're going to have like the same overtones, but now they're like, maybe this happened. You know?
I'd be mad.
Yeah. So
Well, apparently George R. R. Martin has like told them the ending. So
Yeah, exactly.
like it's going to be pretty close. It's just going to be like a tighter story with.
then they're
going
to get there a different way. Than
Probably, yeah. I mean, they've already deviated enough, but like the changes didn't bother me.
Okay.
I have been okay with them.
All right, good. So
I enjoyed the season, but
I thought it was the
most.
most boring TV ever. Like I watched every episode, just like it was terrible. Like I honestly sometimes I forgot, so I'd go like 3 weeks and be like, oh yeah, I haven't watched Game of Thrones in like 3 weeks. Like, it was just so terrible. I was just not excited at all. I mean, and the previous seasons, like I was like chomping at the bit, like frothing at the mouth, waiting to watch it. Like I
Chomping
couldn't.
at the turkey bone.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, exactly. Just chewing on it, just being like, yeah, just excited. But now this season, I was just like, eh. But what I did get into instead was House of Cards. Oh man.
Oh, great show.
Oh wow. Yeah, that stuff is amazing. Yeah, Kevin Spacey is ridiculous. That show was crazy. Yeah, so that's what I substituted my Game of Thrones fix for, and binged watched that, the 3 seasons through, and now I have to wait till February where everything comes out. So, but we'll see. A little bird walk there. So back to video games, I guess. Oh yeah, hey John, did you know there's a new Contra coming? Yeah.
Up, down, left, right, BA, start.
Yeah, exactly. Good job. That was a question. Was it last week?
Yeah. No, I think it was the first.
2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. That was See, episode 3. I think Velas got that one.
Yeah.
Alex, you know Velas. So.
I do know Velas. Super cool dude.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was on, and one of his boss battle questions was, "What is the Contra code?"
Oh man, I have no idea.
Well, there it was. John, go.
Up, down, left, right, BA.
Oh,
Start.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I remember when I first got Contra, I was just like, "This is the greatest game ever," and I played it for hours.
Oh yeah, exactly. Contra rocked. I mean, I had Contra all on the NES, but every time I go to an arcade, what do? Straight to the Contra cabinet.
Exactly.
Always. Like I was just like, that was the first thing. Like if you wanted to lose 50 quarters in the first 10 minutes, go to Contra cabinet. Like that's what happened. You would die so many times. It was just a money machine, but whatever. I used to love that one. Oh man. Yeah, but there's a new one coming. Aren't you excited, John?
Oh yeah.
Oh, but don't be. It's only in China.
I'll be moving to China.
Okay, sounds good.
Jen, here I come.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's what are you doing, Konami? Weird, but yeah, it's
well, I mean, at least you got 1 billion people to sell it to.
Exactly, and that's the thing is, but and it's only iOS too, so it's mobile, but it's a totally new game, new version, next part of the story, so it's not like a
distinct play.
Yeah,
only
so
iOS and only in China.
Yeah, well, I mean, the market is huge. Now they're moving into more of because again, China is a very PC centric gaming market.
Yeah,
and now they're moving into the mobile. Now they have like the release of higher end mobile phones. They're starting to get a better infrastructure with their 3G and all that, the data services now. And so, mobile is much more of a bigger market for them now. But
yeah.
I think it's cool that it's a totally new game as well. But it's a totally new Contra game with a totally new story and everything. But it's on iOS only, and it's going to be focused for the Chinese market, so the Chinese taste. So it's not just a new game iteration they're porting to China. This is going to be focused on how Chinese how Chinese gamers consume gaming. So I was like, huh.
I wonder what the controls are going to be like on since they're targeting.
Oh yeah,
a mobile platform. They're probably not going to make it the whole D-pad sort of way to play it. So I wonder how they're going to do that.
Well, a lot of times they do on mobile phones. They have a little D-pad, like a little swipey D-pad thing that's totally non-responsive. But if you do that in Contra, you're dead in 4 seconds.
Exactly. So I wonder how they're going to approach it.
Yeah. You ever played Contra, Alex? I know you're a young buck.
I have. No, I have no idea. I have not played this game.
Oh man, yeah. Contra 2 was pretty gnarly. Contra 3 was just crazy. But yeah, Contra the original. That's just man. That's when that came out. Yeah, when that came out, people were just like, "What? What is this?" Just like guns and explosions all over the screen, and what lasers, and it was just nuts. Yeah, so it was fun. But I'm kind of excited to see at least what that is, because I mean, I'd play a new Contra even if it came out like legit wise. So cool. Moving on, Xbox update UI about time.
Finally.
I know. The Xbox UI has been really rough. I mean, even the PlayStation's UI is a little clunky in some areas, but I mean, it goes to show with Microsoft's pivot in the market, kind of towards that whole one experience within your PC, your gaming, your video, and your movie library, all that kind of stuff. Now it's really based on the Windows 10 experience, and again, I had the chance to peek at it and see some videos and demos of it, and it looks great, man. It's a huge improvement. Have you had a chance to check it out yet, Alex?
Yeah, I looked at it. I don't own an Xbox yet. It's on now that there was no game that really grabbed me until Halo. Mm-hmm. So I am working it. I'm probably gonna wait till Black Friday and see what I can do then.
Of course, yeah.
But So I don't have a previous experience with the interface, but the one I checked out the videos, and it looks really smooth. I'm curious what it's like in practice. I've heard that like although it looks smooth, there are still some like clunky issues. So the people who actually like knew the previous interface are like, I still don't get it. But it looks like it's a big improvement, and like good on them for actually taking the time to adjust it and improve it. So I guess we'll see if they do any more updates, but it looks like they're on the right track. I think Microsoft is, now that they've given up their quest to beat Sony, are trying to make like a really good product. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm all for it.
I think it goes really well. Like, John, it's really focused on the Windows 10 experience. It looks like Windows 10, just a console version. So it's really good. It's got it looks great. Like you said, I'm also interested to see how it is in practice. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of updates you're going to need to do, but what they have improved, at least they are making efforts into it. And so that's definitely cool. So good job. Microsoft, keep it up. I'm always about improving the user experience because, again, we want to be able to play games and just have a fun experience and not have to worry about taking an hour to get to something we want to do. So that's good. And speaking of updates, I know you are a Dota fan. Alex, which we will dive into here in a little bit. You and I will get into some Dota talk.
It's nothing better.
But we're going to go into a little other MOBA action. There's a huge, massive, ridiculous update of League of Legends coming in early 2016.
Really?
Complete overhaul. Gameplay mechanics are being changed. Items are being changed. Maps are being changed. Characters and UI all being totally revamped for a new experience and a new way to play a MOBA. So
wow.
So I was kind of, again, I just saw the story this morning. I just crammed it in here really quick, and I did a quick, brief overview of it and skimmed a couple articles. But I mean, it's not. I mean, the Dota update that came, what was it? Maybe
Reborn. It was like
last year.
It was September because they did it after the international, so they finished the big tournament, and then they're like, new engine, and now
it looks cool. It looks cool.
They did a nice
there's
job.
A couple mechanics. I mean, they nerfed my character, which we got to talk about, my hero. But
they're gonna nerf everybody and buff everybody. So
right, exactly. So, but no, this looks like something totally different. This looks like they're actually going to change the way the game is played.
Wow.
And so they really want to emphasize on new gameplay mechanics and how players interact and how players utilize heroes, on new strategies on the map. And I was reading this and I was like, wow, they're really taking a risk. Riot is really going, because the MOBA recipe has worked. And the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I like the fact that they're going to try something different because, everyone, how many MOBA clones are out there? The only one that's been successful, and that's only because of the push of Blizzard, is Heroes of the Storm.
Yes.
Dota and League have just owned it. But I'm just intrigued to see kind of what the route they go. And you, as a MOBA expert and a MOBA connoisseur, I would like to see kind of your thoughts on changing the gameplay experience. What would you do if they took Dota 2 and you know what? There are now 7 lanes. Do it. And now not to say, come on, this is not speculation. They're going to change the lanes, but just a new gameplay mechanic.
Oh, right now? Oh, for Dota at least, I'm not sure. I'm looking at what the article about Riot, because I just pulled it up, and I think that Dota at least, and possibly League 2, and this looks at what League is doing, it's less about the gameplay. Sure, you can make tweaks about the heroes, but I don't know if I would go around changing the core MOBA experience.
Right.
I would more go about trying to make the game as enjoyable for the player base. And
You mean the new player base? So they make the barrier of entry lower, or just the current player base?
Both, but I feel like just the nature of MOBAs is there's a hard barrier of entry, and you just need a good friend to help teach you and get you through it, and you kind of have to push. I don't know how to make the barrier of entry lower, other than this has to be the right type of game for you. If you have the competitive drive and you like this type of level up, improve PvP stuff, then you'll love it regardless of how bad you are, and you'll start improving just because you like that type of gameplay. But if you're not the person who's going to be yo, I just want to go in and shoot some people and play a quick match. It's not your game. But this one has a growth to it, which I'm really into. When people are Alex, tell me about Dota. I'm well, take World of Warcraft, put it into 40 minutes. You level up a dude, get items, and you kill your opponents. And that's kind of how I pitch it. because I feel like that's how I related to it at first. Was like it's essentially like an RPG where you just pick a new hero every time, and then you just like level up, you grind, you get some gold, you get sick items, and then you crush the opposition. It's like, and it's great, but I feel like Dota at least wants like a couple new. Like they need a new mode. Like I'd love to see, and it's been on Reddit a couple times. It's like something that they call all draft, and what that means is like which I think was in the original Dota 1, but there's not in Dota 2, and it essentially is like, okay, so every person, it's like all pick where there's no like hero limitations. You just grab whatever hero you want, but which is good and bad because everybody gets what you want, but then you also end up playing against heroes you like really want to never play against. So the idea of all draft is that it sort of blends like the professional mode, which is captain's mode, with all pick, and it lets like each player, there's a 5-person team, and each player gets to ban one opposing hero. So you get to ban the one thing you don't want to play against. So that way, instead of just like having 20 heroes, or 10 heroes, 5 on 5, now you're like affecting 20. So it lets you strategize a bit more. I think that's really cool. But I was like, this
But
Ryan
do you
article.
consider?
What's up?
The funny thing is with again, because I played Dota pretty well for a while, and I got into it. But the thing that's funny is when they say a new mode in Dota, like a new mode is just a new way to pick characters, and that's really funny because the game is still the same. That's because when you think of a new mode in like any other game, it's a totally new way to play the game.
Sure.
But when you again, it's just kind of a funny.
Dota
semantic.
has like new modes, which I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean especially during the holidays. Remember like the whole was it?
Like Dire Tide was a thing.
Just little events or things. But
Chinese New Year has an event.
Yeah, but when they say a mode in like let's say like Call of Duty, it's like zombie mode or capture the flag. Those are modes. Like a mode in a MOBA, this is across all MOBAs, is just how to pick the characters different and how to strategize pre-typical gameplay experience. I just think that's funny. That's not a knock on it. It's just that's funny what is considered a game mode in a MOBA.
That's totally fair. I mean, like. Dota does have like all the custom games, which I don't know if League has. And at least like if you want to do the custom games, like great, you can go do that, and it's like doesn't count towards your win rate or your MMR or like whatever, and it's just like a different experience. I tend to lean towards the original game because that's what I got into. So like I would, whatever League does or Riot, I would like to see them not take away the original too much, maybe just add other options, like leave vanilla as it is. And if you want to make your like not your primary anymore, like that's cool. Like give it a shot. But it's a risky move. I mean, we'll sort of see what happens.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just looking at a couple of things. They're changing a marksman update, changing how the carry position is used. The keystone masteries. So instead of micro abilities, the client, you can improve the ways to pick and prioritize. There's vision is affected. New starting items is going to happen. There's new sustain items, new champions select. So there's new ways to select as well. There's the ranked improvements. They're changing how games are ranked, how players are ranked. They're adding dynamic groups. They're adding promo helpers, so they'll help you. There's new social interaction features. They'll a complete overhaul of the engine. So a lot of stuff they're doing to it. So it'll be interesting. Like you said, I agree because, like you said, what makes MOBAs so successful is the fact that they are MOBAs.
Right. Well, I mean, all those things you just listed, like they sound like what I was talking about, just like to another like degree. Which I don't play much League, so I don't really know. But like I think Dota has a lot of that stuff already in there. Like Dota's added plenty of new items recently, which have helped with sustain. They've buffed like support players with like cheap items that let you make different plays. So Dota's adding items. I forget the list. Like Vision's always been I really like the Vision game in Dota. I don't know it in League, but in Dota, I think it's like really well put together. But yeah, like the thing I was reading here that I thought was interesting is that they were like Riot's trying to do like a position select.
Yeah,
which I kind of have mixed feelings about because I think there are totally games where it's like, oh, I like hate it when I end up playing with like 4 other carries and it's like 4 carries and a support. Like that's not how like the pros do it. But at the same time, if they're then like classifying heroes into certain like roles, then it limits your strategies. And you're like, well, like
I play this hero like a carry, but it's a support, like whatever, like because technically you can.
Feelings.
All right, yeah, exactly. It kind of makes you play the game the way they like outline it
Right,
instead of
and
playing how you want it.
you lose some strategical options, which I think is a little sad to me, because even though I get really frustrated when I'm stuck with like a team that I'm like, this would never fly in a pro match. It's like, well, at least you have the option to do that. And I think with Dota and Pro League, regardless of how you draft, if you out execute, you can win.
Yeah.
So that's super cool to me.
Yeah, like honestly, like it doesn't matter if you take, 5 mediocre players who are all perfectly aligned team, you got a carry support, whatever, and then you like 5 expert players with all supports, they will beat you. It doesn't really matter, So yeah, we'll see what happens. But again, I like what they're doing. I like they're gonna at least try to keep it update and keep it fresh. Again, it's coming on straight off the heels of the Dota update, so they have to keep theirs fresh, and they're just it's in line with the times, keep with the competition. So we'll see what happens on that. So yes, last little bit of news, and then we'll move on to we'll take a break and get an interview action going for you, Alex. But sure. High five through the mic, John. Star Trek is coming back to TV. Oh yeah. So that was pretty cool. I was excited to hear that. So in 2017, Star Trek, they're rebooting the series.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm
not excited.
I'm a Star Trek fan, so I think it's awesome.
I think I said this off the podcast last week or the week before. I have never seen any Star Trek anything.
That's right. You're more of a Star Wars guy.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, I love Star Wars, but it's not that I don't like Star Trek. I just never
got into it.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I never watched it. And so it's not that I don't like it. It's just I never really watched it, so I don't really have an opinion of it. But there's so much of it out there now. It's like, well, if I've gone this long without ever watching it, I guess
right.
I won't.
Right.
I do stuff with crowdfunding, and actually worked with a crowdfunding campaign where these guys were working with William Shatner.
I remember that.
So they were doing the crowdfunding campaign for him. So I was working with them and William Shatner kind of by proxy. But they're like, "Oh, hey, would you want to meet him someday?" And like, I guess.
Yes.
I was like,
you mean the Priceline guy?
Yeah. I was like, it's not on the top of my list, but yeah, I'd meet him. That's cool,
For sure. Yeah.
They're kind of blown away by like, I wasn't like,
what?
That would be awesome, And it's just I never really watched Star Trek, not because it sucks or I don't like it. I just never watched it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have fond memories of being a kid, and again, my mom's a pretty good cook, so she made a lot of food. But one of her specialties is spaghetti, and I just remember eating spaghetti and like at night, and then we're watching Wheel of Fortune, and then Star Trek, then Wheel of Fortune, then Jeopardy. But we'd always watch Star Trek like every night, and like that's because my mom's a huge Star Trek fan, my dad's a Star Wars fan, so I had that little rivalry going in the house.
Nice.
But I mean, they both like each one, but my mom definitely is obsessed with Star Trek. So I got like Star Trek stuff for like Christmas because she was a Trekkie. I got like in my stocking one year, I got like fake tricorders and fake phasers and stuff like that that made sounds. I'm like, cool. And then my dad wanted to get me Star Wars stuff. But yeah, like I just remember that going up. So I mean, Generations was amazing, and then I like the movies too, and then the new movies are actually pretty darn awesome. But what they did mention about the new TV show is that it didn't had anything. It doesn't have anything to do with the new one coming out, the new Star Trek movie, Star Trek Beyond. So it's kind of in a different wheelhouse as that. But it's still cool that it's coming back to TV, and I'll watch it if I have time.
I'm surprised it's coming back to TV and they didn't go for straight to like Netflix or Hulu type thing. It seems like some more and more shows are starting.
Speaking of, thanks for bringing that up, John. Yeah, I did mention that part of the story. It is actually doing something like that. So okay. CBS, the first major network to have its own streaming service, started recently. It's $6.99 a month. And now you can stream like kind of like HBO Now, all that stuff. Because HBO finally did that. But CBS is the first major network to do their own streaming service. You can stream all of their content, all of their shows, and this is exclusively for that. So good call on that. Yeah. So you're around the money with that. So that's a good. So they struck a deal with them. So
that's interesting. Cool. I love the idea of like Netflix and other services like that because it kind of gives. Yeah. Well, it also I think it gives the producers of the films or the shows a little more control. And they can kind of more do what they have in their mind when they produce the show or the film, where when you're working with a big production studio or, you're getting backed by this other company, they're gonna be like, no, 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 you need to cut these 5 pages out of the script. You know,
We
you
don't
need
have
to change it.
time. You know,
Yeah,
this and that.
so at least it gives the producer a little more control, and I like that. So
For sure. No, I mean it's an on-demand world now. Like it's like I don't know when the last time I've had TV or like sat down and watched like TV. It just
yeah,
it doesn't happen. Like
Yeah,
the
my
only thing
kid-
I watch
like-
is like football, like live. I don't watch
Right,
TV
like-
ever.
well, even that you TiVo it, and
Yeah, exactly. I always do that.
Well, my kids were at my in-laws the other day, and they have DirecTV there. That's all they have. They don't have Netflix or Hulu or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, we want to watch this." I'm like, "Yeah, that's not how that works. Like, you put a channel on and you watch what's on." They were kind of like, "What?" Like,
Oh no.
I was like, "Wow, man, you guys don't know how good you have it."
Yeah. Well, yeah. Before, I mean, not like we're like ancient or anything, but like we've seen kind of the move from more analog technology to like the digital age. So like you remember like the old, even like the cable top boxes where like you have to get up and like the little red numbers. I had like 6 numbers on there. Like you'd have like 18 channels, and those are your cable box numbers, and then you just watch the channels. There's no TV guide channel. You had the TV guide, that piece of paper, like a book.
Exactly.
Yeah, you read the book. What's coming on at this time? Okay, well, that's coming on, and then you tune to that channel.
Even before we had cable as a kid, we had the old school antenna.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
So it's like you get 5 channels, 4 channels if you're lucky.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yep, and you'd watch whatever rerun is on. Oh, that's cool.
Exactly. But it was so funny to see them be like, "Yeah, I want to watch this show." I'm like, "Yeah,
no,
it doesn't work
you don't just click a button and get it into your face. Oh man, kids these days.
Yeah.
But no, it's funny. Like I said, I think it's awesome. We'll see what happens with it. But any other news hits before we take a quick break?
Oh, none on my end.
So cool. Well then, Alex, you prepare to get interviewed here by our journalist on staff, Jonathan. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Alex Cote and his interview. Hi, do you like video games? I know you do. You're listening to this podcast. What about Nuclear Winter, or a post-apocalyptic landscape, or mutants? Yeah, you probably like those too. In that case, I know where you'll be on November 10th. You'll be enjoying hanging out with me, Ted Edwards, host of John and Ted's excellent Gamecast, and CEO of RaptorCow, the company that brings all this to you during our Fallout 4 release event. The staff at RaptorCow, yes, raptor like the dinosaur and cow like the steak, will be putting on a 24-hour live stream of Fallout 4. Oh man. You'll get to chat live with me, the Froyo Bros, Mike and Rob, and other guests as we answer questions, eat tons of food, fight delirium, and oh yes, play the game. Go to twitch.tv/RaptorCow to view our live stream. Character creation starts Tuesday, November 10th at 3 p.m. Pacific, and we will be streaming the game for 24 consecutive hours all the way to 3 p.m. November 11th. Oh boy, what have I gotten myself into? Man. And we're back. Hi guys, how you doing?
Whew.
Good.
I'm good, man.
Good break. Well, yeah. Well, you better be good because we're gonna dive deep into your soul right now, Alex. So
Exciting.
yes. So we have
Hit me.
Jonathan with Hardline Journalist Talk right now. Gonna come at you with the questions, and so you better be ready.
The
and
fear
this
is
all
building.
on record right now. So this what you say
all
can
on
and will be
record.
used against you in a court of law.
Oh man.
Okay. So
None of this will be couched.
right. So all right. So we have Alex Cote, fantastic young composer and doing a lot of awesome things out here in LA now. And so without further ado, Jonathan, take it away.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, good. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's super fun.
So we mentioned at the very beginning, way back in the beginning, that you're a producer / composer for film and video games. So
Yes.
before we get too deep into other questions, how did you even first get involved into this realm? What made you want to get into this arena?
Oh, of film and game music?
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of a funny story. So, it originally started off when I watched a certain movie, which I'll talk about in a sec. But for a long time, and even like into like my junior year of high school, I wanted to be an architect. for like the longest time.
Wow.
And that was because I was super into Legos. Legos were like my toy.
Oh, nice.
I was just like so amped about like I built like tons of I have like on my I brought with me here I have a Lego X-Wing like on my speaker because I'm that much of a nerd, and I just like Legos were like such a thing in my childhood, and I never thought music could be like a career that I could seriously pursue. I was studying music since I was 5. I started on violin, and I was like, yeah, this is a great, like, this is super cool, and I enjoyed it. I was never like a serious at practicing or anything. Like I remember my mom is like, yeah, your teacher, like, she didn't tell me this at the time, but like now she's like, yeah, your violin teacher when you were 5, she was like, Alex is never going to be like an actual performer. Like
she's failed.
He's like, she doesn't have the work ethic. I'm like, oh man.
He's 5, right?
Yeah, right. He's 5. Like, comes from slack. But like at the same time, she's like totally right. Like violin is an instrument where you have to practice every day, and if you don't, it just you lose it. Like, but I'll get into that later. So I wanted to be an architect for a long time. And I didn't really make like the conscious decision to think about music seriously until I saw Lord of the Rings, and then I was like, and specifically the Return. No, God, almost said Return of the Jedi. Return of the King. Return of the King, and like the which you guys have both seen, I assume, or well, I guess.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yep.
The scene that always like that really struck me in that is like the lighting of the beacons as Gondor like calls Rohan for aid.
Yeah.
And like that scene just like
so awesome.
There's so many like amazing emotions that go in there, and it's just a showcase for the music. And I was just so blown away by that moment. I think I was like 12 or 13. I don't know, whenever that movie came out. Sure, let's say I'm 12 or 13 ish. I was just so like captivated by how the music totally carries you forward. Like all you sort of like, because the whole scene's about like humility and like being able to ask for help and getting over your pride and all those like. And
at 12 or 13, you realize this?
No, I realize that now.
Okay. I was like, wow.
Like I because I've looked back at that, I've been like, why was that so like powerful to me?
Gotcha,
and I've been like, that like those are the reasons. At the time, I was just like, this is incredible music. I'm getting like chills everywhere, and it's like I don't know what chord it's striking within me, but I know that it's like a big like this is a moment. And so now I've looked back at that, I've been like, why is that scene so powerful? Because it has all these feelings of like humility, pride, and like asking for help, which are all things that are like very difficult to do, but they're able to do it for the greater good of defeating the enemy. Great. So that scene was like huge, and I was like, I want to be a composer. And so I sort of I started dabbling in like writing music in high school. I was awful, as we all start out. I wrote like some dinky little piano pieces, and I did some choir stuff, which I think have been lost to the ether of like computers.
Lies, you still have them.
Yeah, exactly.
I maybe like well, they're on a different computer. They're back in my hometown because I was on I didn't have a computer until I was in college. So
all right, Alex, give me your address. I'm gonna go get them right now.
Okay, yeah, it's it's about a half-hour drive from you.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was my big moment of like I want to do film music, and then the big game that I was like really struck by was Halo. Which you'll hear a lot of composers talk about, like that was like their big like, oh, this is really cool. And I think the exciting part about Halo versus like other shooters at the time is that the music is underscoring your emotions, not the action on the screen. So like they'll play a lot of like really like emotional and like almost like sad pieces of music while you're fighting these aliens, and as opposed to like big drums and action, like they're playing the sort of gravity of the situation as opposed to like the action fun. And I found, and like to me that's like way cooler than being like we're just gonna go like just like Call of Duty destroy, and like Call of Duty is
like guitar riffs like
right, totally. And Halo has moments of that when it's like called for, but overall like then they also just like pull from like, hey, like this is a really like big powerful scene, and like we're gonna play like this like gorgeous choir on top of it, and you're gonna feel like something you did not expect to feel at all as you're shooting through all these aliens and getting through this level. So those are the two big moments. And then I kind of progressed there. I picked up piano around 11. And then I learned guitar after Guitar Hero because I was like, I could play violin, I could play Guitar Hero, I could play guitar.
Yeah.
So I made the transition there, and so those are like my three instruments. I studied voice for a while, but I've let voice go since I got to college, and now kind of here I am. I went to Berklee College of Music, which is in Boston.
All right, here's a question
Yeah,
for
what's
a
up?
student. Did you actually graduate, or did you drop out like everyone else?
No, I graduated.
Oh, okay. So you're
I,
you're the 100, you're one of the 100 that graduate from Berkeley.
yeah, something like that. That is the running joke there. Yeah, yeah. Berkeley was a really good experience for me because I was not like a techie at all before Berkeley, and then I was forced to become one. And
Oh,
yeah, like please, so my dad worked for IBM for the longest time, and so he's like he's been a techie. And so all through like high school, I like didn't need to learn anything about computers because my dad just did it, and I was
right,
like, this is the best thing ever. And then so I was like, I'm going to do music, and that means I don't need to learn technology. This is like me, like as a
False.
freshman, right? Hilarious.
You're wrong on that one.
Oh, completely. Within like a couple years, I looked back and went like, I've literally just turned into my dad. This is not what I planned at all. But like, oh man, this is so similar. Like, I'm like calling him like, so tell me about that processor. Never would have asked that question previously.
Right.
I'm like, I need to know about processors now and memory and what does all this stuff mean? And
Yeah.
just like, it was a fun learning curve, but like that was totally new.
Yeah.
Super fun.
So do you still play violin or?
No.
Well, not actively, but if you picked one up, could you still?
Yeah, I could still play it. I sound like a high schooler, like a high school level violin at this point. Like I got into Berklee on violin, so
Okay.
I was good enough for Berklee, and then I immediately quit.
Right, now that I'm in.
Actually, yes. I went to the string department and I was like, hey, like thanks, but I'm gonna go be a piano player, and they were like, all right. And so I auditioned on piano, and God, I was awful. Like it was so bad. I was so nervous. And they were like, "Yeah, you're like, we'll help you." I literally feel like the piano department was just like, "Oh man, this kid like really wants it, and we'll just let it go."
So
He's
you're
not-
basically like Rudy.
Sure, yeah. I've I'm a fine like performer compared to most people, but like Berklee standards, I'm like nowhere close to like what they consider like good performance, which is fine. Like I'm not trying to be a performer, but I ended up studying piano at Berklee because that was more like in line with my goal of being a composer. So I wanted to learn piano to like a professional level, so I can like actually when I sit down to write. Like everybody writes with piano at this point. So you like
Right.
play things, and I can actually play like rhythms in time because a lot of people who aren't piano like strong with piano have to like knock down the tempo of what they're writing to then
And then
play
speed it up after.
Right, exactly. So I usually don't have to do that, which then lets me sort of play things more naturally and have like the right amount of energy that's going in.
Yeah.
So
So did Berkeley then? I'm assuming Berkeley got you into the whole electronic side of music then once you got
Correct.
there. Yeah.
Yep. So I did they have a lot of majors. One's called film scoring, pretty straightforward, just like learn how to write for film. Great. And then which is like very orchestral heavy, and then I got into my like Berklee mentor was like, you should like go and do this thing called electronic production design, which is essentially computer music. And I
Right.
was like, oh, that sounds great. And so I applied to that major. It worked out. And I was like, my main goal with that was to learn production and to learn how to like incorporate electronic elements into the orchestral music. Cause I've never really wanted to be just an orchestral writer. There's so much more you can do with sound that I find fascinating that you can do with the electronics.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, the electronic music is really interesting too. I was talking to someone a few months ago, just talking about the evolution of bringing electronics into music, where there are some people that are really good at composing, music electronically, but can never pick up an instrument and play it.
Sure, totally.
So-
I mean,
so,
I'm gonna hit that point eventually.
So electronic music has really opened the door for way more people, which is kind of cool, where they can get music out even though they could never have played it themselves.
I mean, that's 100% true, and it leads to some really interesting things. Like some of my composer teachers, or composition teachers, there's the word, were like, you need to like they talked about like if you can't play it, like how are you going to write it? And like there's truth to that in some ways, like it, but it's less about like can you play it like then can you write it. It's more about can you hear what you want in your head, and then can you translate what you hear into something physical or like oral.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of my like one of my first composition teachers, she was like, "Yeah, don't write at the piano. Like walk away from that and just write." And I was like, "Oh, that's fascinating. I've never tried that before." And so I wrote music just like from my head, and then used like the keyboard to translate that into what I wanted.
Well, I have a question then.
Sure.
So if you brought up, if you've never played it, kind of, I'm on that adage. And then John said, hey, and the whole new thing with the electronic music, people who've never played an instrument may be able to still, the doors are opened up to still be able to be a composer, right?
Yeah, totally.
Well, a lot of times if that has to do with more of the electronic composing. So if you want to compose a piece that is made up of actual instruments, you might not know how difficult a portion is to play it or how it would sound or if that would actually work in practice. So I think there is a kind of fine line there, right? Like if you're composing strictly for electronic, then you're fine. But if you're composing for an actual orchestra, an actual band, or any kind of physical musician, then I think you probably should have the ability to play. Is that kind of what you think?
Not play, but no. Like,
no, exactly. No, or know of it, or know how, have played an instrument.
Right. Like, well, yeah, sure. Because like I played violin, and violin can only go so low, and it only sounds good going so high. So you
need viola and cello, but you still have but basically you still have an instrument background. I'm just saying, someone who's never played any instrument, you probably should have a grasp if you're going to.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, even
and you have that advantage.
And then I kind of went crazy with it at Berkeley, and I learned a little bit of trumpet because I wanted to understand brass.
Oh, right.
And my girlfriend at the time was a flute player, and so we traded off. I taught her violin, and she taught me flute. So I learned a bit of each section, so I understood what they were going through. Excellent. And sort of like that thing. And I'm very bad at both. I was able to like play a scale, and I was like, great! I'm never doing that again. Not my instrument, but like. It was really enlightening, and you'll, at least at Berkeley, you could usually hear, because a lot of people are guitarists, and you can usually hear in people's music if they're coming from a guitar background or a piano background versus coming from like an orchestral background, because you tend to write more chordally, you tend to not thinking about lines, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means like that's becoming your sound, and like great. Like Hans Zimmer has made a ton of money off essentially writing guitar parts for orchestra. So
yeah,
it's totally fine. Like do your thing. But like I can totally tell a difference between like, oh, you've probably played in an orchestra before, so you know what it sounds like, versus you're a rock guy learning orchestra right now.
Which is
a lot of people, but there's also plenty of people who like I played in orchestra for 10 years, so I got used to the colors and the sounds and what it's like to be part of the section. So that helps me immensely when I'm now writing for the same family of instruments.
Yeah, if you're a guitar player and you're writing music, you're like, all right, I'll just kind of write these triads and throw some, maybe one or two other kind of lines over here. But you're like, whoa, I got to write like 15 parts now? What are you, crazy? Like,
yeah. Yep.
Sure.
So did you take any like film scoring or any classes like that in any of your majors? I did. So there's a film scoring major which I was part of, and that's sort of like that major is essentially like half of it is like composition. So you learn like you study Bach, Beethoven, etc. And then the latter half you start getting into like, oh, you're going to write music for picture, and like the teachers then act as directors and they give you feedback like a director would, and then you have to like work with that, try to score the scene correctly. So like the latter half is all scoring scenes and learning like like the film idiom, the film style, as opposed to the classical style. Yeah.
That's cool. It's super cool. And then there was also two video game minors, one that focused on scoring, which I was part of, and the other that focused on like sound design and audio. So I did both of those.
Oh, nice.
Which is super fun. And the scoring one just kind of it's a similar idea. It goes into like how does it differ from film? How does it differ from film? To let's score using like basic interactivity, which I can talk about, and then it goes into like here's the advanced methods that are used today in games. So it's just kind of like a 3 different classes that sort of build you up in addition to the film scoring curriculum.
Well, let's do a quick little backtrack, just a quick overview of
Sure.
How is scoring in games different than music? Because I have an idea. We've talked, and I kind of know,
Sure.
but I think maybe listeners might want an insight on that.
So, like, what's the difference between like a film score and a game score? That type of thing?
And like doing music for games.
So, okay, so like, great question. I think it's super fascinating. So I'll go on a rant. So the biggest difference between films and games as like a medium is that a film is the same every time you watch it. So I can accurately predict exactly when that gunshot will fire. Like the bad guy is going to shoot at the hero at this point, and I know exactly when that moment is. And I can predict it, and as a result, I can write music that perfectly scores that moment. It gets the suspense building right before, like, I don't know, like Matrix, right before like Neo does this whole like the first slow-mo dive at the end, right? Like that, like I know exactly when that moment's going to happen, and I can build for it perfectly. Games, on the other hand, everything is controlled by the player, so I have less control of when that player will go into combat, when the player will be exploring, or what exactly is happening on screen. So game scoring turns into like a bit of like, the music is different every time. Your playthrough of Halo will be different from my playthrough of Halo, musically and gameplay wise. Like especially like, and take a game like Skyrim, it's completely open world. Fallout will be the same way. Like your musical playthrough will be different than John's, will be different than mine.
Right.
So game scoring is like, it's figuring out that balance. Well, not the balance is the wrong word, but like figuring out how to keep the music interesting and still score player action, but be able to change like on a dime if the player decides they want to stop in the battle. So
Dynamic.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's got to be dynamic. Yeah, it's got to be
So-
able to change, but it still have transition where it doesn't sound choppy or disjointed.
Right. So we use the term interactive or dynamic to describe the type of music. And then so essentially that goes into, you'll hear in like a Mario level, like the music loops, right? So looping is a huge part of game music because we don't know how long the player will be in a certain area. So we need to make sure music goes for that entire time. So often things loop. Now looping is great, but can also lead to like ear fatigue, which is so annoying. Like I know you've both probably played games where you're like, I wish the soundtrack would shut up. I'm done with it. Yeah, totally. See? Like whatever game it is, like, and Zelda's got gorgeous music, but if it's not
the overworld music, though, after a while, it's like
it drives you nuts. Like it doesn't matter how pretty it is.
You go to sleep and it's in your brain. You wake up, you're still in your brain. You're brushing. It's whatever. It's always in your brain.
Which is like earworms are fine, but they can also be incredibly annoying.
Yeah.
So like the struggle then becomes like, okay, we need to score this moment. It's probably going to loop, but how can we make that more interesting for the player? And then how can we transition when he goes from the map music or explore music into combat? So a lot of times, like the basic ways that games do that is they'll have like an explore piece of music, and it's like, great, like that's going to play, maybe loop, and maybe there's a couple different layers, or like you can like, it's like different like 16 bar loops or whatever, and you can mismatch the order. So that way, the game engine says, let's grab the first 16 bars, and then let's grab the fourth 16 bars. And the composers worked it so you can have any order of those 16 bars.
Oh, that's really cool, actually. It's like an algorithm.
Exactly. And then the engine says, okay, let's play 1, 4, 2, 3. And then you have a whole different piece of music. And then it's like, all right, now we'll do 4, 2, 3, 1. And you just have this different, like, so the music's kind of always changing and keeping your interest, and it's not looping exactly the same. The whole goal is that we give you the emotion, but we don't make it like you shouldn't know when the cymbal swell is coming every time it loops.
And
So
when
a good thing.
you're so sucked into the game, you're not even going to realize, like, hey, that's not the order it was last time.
Exactly. So that's like a method that.
And then the cool thing with that too, it's like that goes along with more of the electronic sound, right? Like the creating, because like artificially, because that'd be really difficult to do in an orchestra to make it be able to be like, you know, different bars all mixed together.
Well, so you can record that with orchestra. You just like do is like 16 bars. You stop. You let the reverb fade out, and then you just kind of like
awesome
record the next 16.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
a really cool concept, actually. Like,
yeah,
that's really really cool. I never really thought of that.
Like Halo did a really nice job. They do like in and out points. So like whenever you hit a checkpoint in Halo, usually that's like the start of a new music piece. And then like it gets into that piece, it'll loop for X amount of time, and then when you reach like the next like set piece, there'll be a transition piece of music to get you out of that loop into the new thing. So that's like 3 pieces of music. You have your like, let's just say explore, and then you have a transition, which is maybe like 20 seconds, 15, does not loop. It just helps you crossfade from your explore piece into the transition, and then you're into the battle. So it creates this seamless score that's scoring your personal gameplay, but it can be there's no like it's not synced to like a time specifically. It's just like, yeah, you like it took the player a minute 30 to reach the battle, but it might take you a minute, and then regardless of what it is, the music can transition seamlessly to score your personal gameplay.
Awesome.
So that is like probably the biggest difference. It's just that a game score changes every time you play it. A film is the same, and that leads to different challenges, which are like super fun for me as a creative to work through and create like the best score for that game and that experience.
That's really cool. That was a lot of things I never considered.
Same here. Like, I think, that kind of algorithm for the music, that's a really cool concept. I really like that.
Yeah, there's like a ton of different tools. That's just like an example.
Right, but I'm sure you can dive in forever, but I think that's really awesome.
So you kind of speaking of tools, that's actually leading to my next question. What's some of your like favorite software / hardware to use while you're doing this stuff?
So I use a lot of software.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
the typical like Pro Tools kind of stuff, right?
Sure. So this gets into a bit of like musical jargon, so I don't want to get too in depth because I'll lose people. But so I use Pro Tools. I have it. I don't use it for MIDI, and MIDI, for those of you who don't know, is essentially like it's like a translator, right? So when I press a note on my keyboard, my piano keyboard, that sends a message like within MIDI that says, oh, you played like middle C on the keyboard. So that note says, okay, go call the middle C sound or like audio file for that instrument. So when I have a piano loaded up, I press C and the little MIDI says, oh, go grab middle C from the piano and play it back. And this happens instantaneously.
Yeah.
So I work with MIDI a lot, and it's like just like that's the language we use to create music in the computer. And so I use a bunch of like I have like a full orchestra within my computer, all fake, all drums, all this stuff, choir too. And I write within a program called Cubase, which is similar to Pro Tools. It just like Pro Tools doesn't have the best MIDI functionality. So for audio, Pro Tools is awesome, and anybody in the industry uses Pro Tools for mixing, mastering, dubbing, etc. But most composers live in either like Logic or Cubase. You'll hear some people use Digital Performer. I found Cubase to be the one that I jive with the most. So I write all of my MIDI into there, and then I render out to audio, and then I can bring that into Pro Tools to give to somebody else to mix myself, whatever the case may be. So, that's cool. Yeah, and then I'm looking into getting some hardware synths because I really want to have a physical synth. Like I have plenty of like
Moog came out with a newer synth like a few weeks ago, I think.
No, I haven't checked that one out yet. I will look into it. Yeah, that's like the dream, right? Like to buy like a $4,000 synth. It doesn't make any sense financially, but you're like, I gotta have it.
I was taking music theory in college. My professor was one of my music professors. Played grand pianos. He was more of a Russian style of a pianist,
right?
And he was like, I just picked up this grand piano. I'm making a whole new room in my house. He's like, I got a great deal on it. It was only $80,000. I was like,
oh wow,
what?
Wow.
Yeah, that's not cheap.
But grand pianos, man, they're so beautiful.
So what are some of the things that you're using for sound banks? What are you using for like to get your drums and your orchestra sounds and stuff?
There's a lot of different like libraries. They're called like sample libraries, and people tons of different companies make them, and it sort of turns into like whatever one you think floats your boat the best. So I use a different library for strings. I use a different library for brass. So for strings, there's one called Cinematic Strings. It's made from these guys in Australia, I think. And they're like super chill, and they just made like it has the best UI like I've seen for a string engine. So I use it strictly just because it's so easy, and they make really pretty like legato or like long like gorgeous sounds. It's not the best for like short trailer music, but like for like if I need something that's like sad and emotional, it's like the best for that. And then I use a library from East West. That's the company called. just like their symphonic orchestras, which has like it has a bit of everything, and I use it for the brass primarily because they have like really solid brass samples. I like those. I don't write for woodwinds. No one writes for woodwinds. So woodwinds got cut from like anything modern. Sad, but alas, unless you're John Williams, like there's no woodwinds in music. Haha, right? Crazy.
Right on.
Unless it's like like an African or like an ethnic sort of flute or ethnic instrument. Like you'll have like a solo instrument to like evoke a sound, but like there's no one's really writing for flute or clarinet. Like the Hunger Games score, for instance, there's nothing. It's just brass, strings, percussion, and a couple ethnic flutes. There's no like classical orchestral woodwinds.
Crazy.
Wow.
So that sound is out. Directors got sick of that one, and it's affected games too because those things exist. Like obviously you'll still hear those things occasionally, but like at least for your epic style scores, like not so much.
Again, that's crazy. For the sake of time, let's kind of go into kind of your style overview briefly, and then kind of what games or projects you're working on, what you like to work on, just kind of your work in games and like why you want to do games.
Oh, where do you want me to start with that?
Whatever you want, go for it.
Oh man, so
all you, buddy.
So I want to do games for some of the reasons I mentioned previously. Of like, I find the challenge of working with interactivity a lot more fascinating than a linear thing all the time. Movies are linear; it's a great medium. Games are gonna take it over, I think, eventually, and become the leading medium of storytelling. And so I want to be a part of that. And as just like I've always been more of a gamer than a film goer, so I tend to just lean towards this world first and foremost. So that's like my reason for doing games. I love the people. The people are it's a lot of that. You drive with the group here, and it's like, yeah, these are the people that I like. I find the game industry to be very welcoming compared to the film industry. And not that they aren't welcoming, just that like they're a lot more down to earth, I think. A lot of people come to Hollywood and they're like, I have this grand idea for my film project. And it's like, and they spend like 5 years, like 10 years making it the best they can be. And the best they can be is not always their best. So you sort of lose sight of the project. And games tend to be a lot more grounded in reality of like, hey, we have a publisher, we have this deadline, we're going to kickstart it. There's like a market for us. We can make it happen. So I just tend to live in games because I think it's a more realistic genre and I just enjoy it more. So that's that.
That's cool.
Yeah. And what was the next thing? Like my style? Okay.
Yeah, like because again, you have all this big background. Like, what is your style now? And I'm going to kind of focus a little bit in regards to games.
Focus it in. So style is like this question comes up a lot, and I feel like I don't feel like I always have the best answer for it, and my reasoning for that is like I have not yet had the opportunity to work on on a huge project that then like grounds my style. Like if like let's take Halo. If Marty O'Donnell had not written Halo, you would not know what his style is. That type of thing, right? Like a lot of people their style becomes defined by the project they work on. Like same thing with like Journey, the music to Journey by Austin Wintory. Like didn't know his style previously, heard that game, it's genius. That's his style now. So I'm still defining what my style is. That's actually one of the projects I'm working on right now is trying to find my own voice as like a musical artist, because a lot of people in my position, like a couple years out of school or just like young as a composer, we all mimic to start with, and that's totally fine. Like you have to mimic what you are inspired by or in love with to then learn from it and then grow out of that.
You tweak it.
Exactly. So I've written a ton of music for, other projects where they've been like, hey, I want this to sound like Hans Zimmer. So I learned to write like Hans Zimmer, or I need it to sound like Jerry Goldsmith. And I learned that style. But is that style me? Not quite. That's like me mimicking someone else and then also adding my own voice. So and while everybody has mimicry, that's fine. I haven't worked on anything where I'm like, this is like what I think I am. So I'm trying to find that. I think the closest I can say is that what I know I'm going to end up in is like I am totally like the drama, sci-fi, fantasy type guy. Like those are the stories that get me the most excited. Right. That's the world I live in, and adventure too. So like, I love that sound. Like anything that's like, my music tends to be relatively like a healthy blend of synths and orchestral music. I tend to usually let the melody be something orchestral because I like the organic sound. And even the synths I make, I usually design my own, are as organic as possible. Like my favorite one I did is I had a Trader Joe's lemonade bottle and I blew on the top of it like a beer bottle, right? Or any bottle.
Yeah.
And it just makes this wonderful deep pitch. And you also hear all the air like moving over it, like my spit or whatever, all this like disgusting stuff in hindsight, right? Like it sounds gorgeous when you put it in the computer because then you have this like really like, and you map it to the keyboard so you can play any like chords or whatever. So I play this thing and I get this like wonderful deep resonant tone, and then I have all these like airy like sort of fluttering on the top. So like the high frequencies are like this constant movement because you're hearing my breath go over the bottle, and then I also have this like wonderful resonant tone that's like purely organic. It's not something I created in the computer. It's something I created in real life, but it's not actually an instrument. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. No, for sure.
Like taking different samples.
Right. So that's like the most fascinating to me, and those are the synths I fall in love with as far as like creating like an atmosphere. And so I kind of like I create a lot of organic synths, which are like something that exists in the world but is not like an actual instrument. And I create these like cool textures with that.
Yeah, because everything has a tonal quality. So
exactly.
Even the vacuum cleaner is playing a pitch.
Oh, dude, those sound good too. Let me tell you, I recorded my bathroom fan once. I was like, it's so neat. I love it.
Just finding inspiration everywhere. That's great.
Yeah, totally.
I would say, like, as we've talked a couple times, I've listened to some of your music, which hopefully we can get a sample here in a second.
Sure.
You're kind of like that epic guy. Like, it's just like these really epic, great emotional scores that just make you like, they tie in so well to whatever is happening, and it's just they're not like blanket epic. It seems to me like they're really focused on like what your project is, and that's really pretty cool.
Thank you very much.
No problem, man.
Yeah.
I think that leads back to him saying what really got him into all this. The ring scene.
Yeah, totally, exactly.
Lord of the Rings, Halo, all that stuff is that sort of the epic. That's not.
Can we get a sample?
Yeah, sure.
Question mark?
Yeah, totally. Let me.
Give the sample a preface. Explain what it is. Real quick before we move into the last phase. Let's give a little explanation.
Okay, oh gosh. So I played one for you guys earlier. I'm gonna play a different one. I think.
What is it?
This is a demo I did for a gig. I did not get this gig, but I wrote this piece of music and I ended up really liking it. And the reason I'm going to play it for you guys is that it has that synth I was talking about with like the Trader Joe's bottle. And since I talked about that, I figured I'd let you guys hear it. It's sort of like this. It's like the first thing you hear. It's this big breathy like pad.
Cool.
And so this is a video game I demoed for. It was it's being made by an Australian team. It's kind of like a side-scrolling adventure game where you're like you're an ant or you're a type of bug. I don't think you're an ant, but you're like you're exploring the underground world with all these different bugs and creatures, and it feels very Zelda to me, but with like this like earthy vibe, right?
Awesome.
So I created. So I was like, okay, this game is like. One, I really like the vibe. And so I was like, okay, it's earthy. So that's why I pulled that synth up. Because I was like, I want something that feels organic, but is not natural.
Right.
So you go with that. Like.
Well, hit it. Let's hear it, man.
Sure. So here we go.
That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I really like that.
Dude, you didn't get the gig after that?
I know, that's what I'm saying. They've missed the ball on that one. I really like that.
Thank you.
No, for
They
real.
weren't deaf developers, were they?
For real.
No, they wanted to work with somebody who was in their country, and so I totally respect that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So,
there's
because
that.
they're often like Australia, New Zealand, and I get that. Like, I'm in Los Angeles, so no matter like how good the music is, someone's just like, we just want to work with someone local, and I like that's totally fine. I respect that
For sure, but yeah,
I love how you built the tension right at the beginning, and then you released it when the drums and everything came in. That was cool.
Oh,
For
thank
sure.
you. Yeah. That was a fun one to do.
excellent. Well, hey, man, like everything you said so far, I mean, great story. Like I said, and a long career ahead of you. I'm
Thank
sure.
you.
I mean, you're early on in the industry, but you're already killing it. So like, it's really impressive, man. Keep it up, and glad to have you. And listen more about what you're doing now. So
Yeah. Super
awesome.
fun.
So at the conclusion of every interview,
I know.
you know what's coming.
I do.
Every week we do a boss battle. John, you love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's fun. So this week's
I'm
boss.
terrified.
Do you know who this week's boss is, Alex?
I do, but I have not played much of these games, which worries me.
Well, it's not necessarily focused on that, but yes, this week's boss is Sub-Zero. So from the Mortal Kombat universe.
All I can imagine is those fatalities where you take the guy's face. Like there's one, I forget which game, but you like take the guy's face and you put it into the moving subway. And I was just like,
nice, yeah.
that's brutal. Yeah,
Sub-Zero is more of the spine ripper guy. So he freezes them and rips out their spine. That's it.
I mean, if that's your thing, that's fine.
So yeah, just so everybody understands, and so you can get a quick overview, I will give you a rundown of the rules. So, like I said, you're fighting Sub-Zero, the original Mortal Kombat character. He's a cryomancer, trained martial artist, assassin under Lin Kuei, arch nemesis Scorpion, and hater of opponents' spines. Yeah, that guy. So, how it works. It's broken up into two parts. The regular levels, 4 levels, and they range in difficulty starting with the first level up to the 4th level. You have 60 seconds to complete these levels. You get 1 warp, so if you want to skip a question, you can say warp and go to the next one, and time permitting, you can return back to that question.
I can warp and skip a question?
So like let's say you don't know the question for number 2, warp, you can skip it and you go to the third
And you come
question,
back around
and
to
you
it,
can come back if time permitting.
Sure.
You get 1 power-up, which makes any question 50-50 for the first 4 levels. If you get 4 for 4, you get another power-up for the boss. Ooh, so that's it.
Can I use my original power up for the boss?
No, you cannot.
Okay.
So you must use it in the first 4. But if
All
you get all 4, then you get a power-up for the boss. And then there's a boss battle, the actual final encounter, which you get 30 seconds for. And if you get 5 out of 5, get all the questions, and take down the boss, you get to be in our Hall of Champions. Any questions?
Oh, man. Not yet.
No.
Well,
you'll be fine. Scorpion will probably rip out your spine, but it's okay.
It's likely. But
We've only had one
what?
person take down the boss so far, and no one has got in the Hall of Champions the 5 for 5 yet. So maybe you can be the first, Alex.
The pressure is growing. All right, here we go.
All right. John, you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Alex, you ready?
I guess.
Your boss battle starts when I finish reading the question. 60 seconds on the clock. Battle with Sub-Zero starts now. Level 1. In gaming, what does the term MMORPG stand for? A. Mildly maniacal, oddly risky portable game. B. Moderately mad, overly rude, passionate gamer. C. Missing meals, occasionally realistic party goose. Or D. Massively
D.
multiplayer. Okay, D is the final answer?
Yes.
All right, moving on. Question 2. In the Assassin's Creed games, in Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and Assassin's Creed Revelations, who do you play when you're not in the past? A. Sean Hastings. B. Lucy Stillman.
Desmond.
C. Desmond Miles. Or D.
C.
Rebecca. So answer C.
Yes.
Alrighty. Question number 3. What 2 names did the villain in the Sonic the Hedgehog series go by?
I want the power up for that one, please.
One is Dr. Robotnik.
Or?
So that's one of the names. So
Good.
Yeah.
50-50, yep.
I have no idea. This is Sonic, right?
Yep, the Sonic universe.
Yep, totally gonna get that's a flop right there.
Alright.
All right, yeah, move on.
All right, move on. All right, fine. All right, question 4. 20 seconds remaining. In the days before all-purpose sound chips, Atari engineers had to create hardwired circuits for each sound. This limited sonic palette in games and made soundtracks somewhat repetitive. According to the Asteroids co-creator Howard Delman, what was the eerily effective repetitive background sound intended to resemble?
Oh man, I should know that. Well, that's unfortunate.
10 seconds.
I mean, chiptune music.
It was meant to resemble a real-world sound.
A real-world sound.
5 seconds.
Flute.
And time. Alrighty. Whew. You made it through the levels.
Did I?
We'll see how you did. John, did he get 4 for 4?
Unfortunately, no. I thought he was going to. He went 2 for 2.
Yeah, no, he was killing it in the beginning. Nice job.
Thank you. Yeah, I was confident with those ones. And then
yeah, exactly. He came into it and then
Sonic.
Yeah. So, well, let's go through. Let's go through the beginning because I've already alluded the 2 for 2. So, level 1 question was, in gaming, what does the term massive... Oh, excuse me. Well, there you go. What does the term MMORPG stand for? And you chose D, which was correct. Yay. Which is massive multiplayer online role-playing game. Nice job.
Yay.
Okay, congratulations. Good. 1 for 1.
Oh, yeah. That's going to crash and burn soon.
You moved on to level 2. In Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and Assassin's Creed Revelations, who do you play as when you're not in the past? You chose C, Desmond Miles. The other answers were Sean Hastings, Lucy Stillman, and Rebecca Crane. And you were actually correct. C, Desmond Miles is the correct answer. Yay. Nice job. 2 for 2.
And then it all went downhill?
Level 3. Things got a little bit dicey, but let's see what happened. So, level 3. What 2 names did the villain in the Sonic Hedgehog series go by? You used your power-up, and it gave you half the answer, which was Dr. Robotnik. The other name was Dr. Eggman. Oh, man.
I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, Eggman is his alter ego, and that's who he goes by.
Good for him, man.
Yeah,
this is showing my lack of consoles before PS2 right now.
Yeah, exactly. So showing it. It's all right though. So he didn't go 4 for 4, but we can still take down the boss.
I could possibly still beat the boss. So
yeah, let's see how well you did. Let's see if you got a question level 4. So obviously, this is kind of pulled in for the sound stuff. So in the days before the all-purpose sound chips, as you know, they do the hardwired circuits for sound. That's pretty crazy. They used to do that. The co-creator of Asteroids, Howard Delman, said that the repetitive sound was meant to resemble a heartbeat.
Okay.
Yeah, so the game Heartbeat, you can
That's super cool.
it's like a heartbeat sound.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. Yeah, you got 2
Great.
out of 4. So yeah, you're down a couple of lives.
Yeah,
you
apparently.
lost your best armor. Your sword's cracked. Everything, and you're going into a counter with Sub-Zero, a little bit bloodied. You're not dead, but you're not doing great. So
yeah. I mean, that's what Sub-Zero does to you, man. He just beats you down first so he can pull your spine later.
Freezes you and pulls your spine. There you go. Well, okay. You've had a second to collect yourself, get all your stuff together. Are you ready to take down Sub-Zero?
I will enter the instance.
Sounds good. John, I know you're ready, bud.
Oh, yeah.
And Alex, your boss encounter starts when I finish reading your question. You get 30 seconds. Level 5 boss encounter with Sub-Zero. As the son of a cryomancer, Sub-Zero has the ability to harness ice and cold to attack his opponents, often inflicting massive damage to their frozen bodies. Your question is, in order for his name to be adequate, what are the temperatures at which water freezes on the 3 major temperature scales, Fahrenheit, Celsius, and Kelvin, and therefore, which scale was used to create his name?
Oh, wow. Well, so Fahrenheit, water freezes at 32.
Okay.
Great. Celsius freezes at 0.
Okay.
And then Kelvin, I wish my mom was here. She's a chem teacher.
Uh-huh.
So she'd know. Let's see.
Would you like to use the phone a friend? No.
Yeah, phone a friend.
Yes, John.
5
please help.
seconds.
Sure. Let's say like -10.
-10. Final answer.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, what was the last question? No, I think it's too late. I've wiped. But
and time. So off the second part of the question, and therefore, which scale was used to create his name?
Well, I would hope that probably Kelvin would be my guess.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. Shall we reveal the answer with the epic battle between Sub-Zero, and
I
Alex
feel like
Cote.
we should play Alex's music.
I know, that's the epic music. Yeah, can we cue up some epic, like, scary music here for this? Yeah,
I
for
can
sure.
give you epic.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Let's get some epic music real quick. All right, there we go. Perfect. That's awesome. In order for his name to be adequate, what temperatures does water freeze at the 3 major temperature scales? So let's attack that first. You said Fahrenheit, 32 degrees. You are correct on that. Good job. Good job, sir. I mean, that's good knowledge. In America, we use Fahrenheit for some odd reason, but it's okay.
I don't know why.
Number 2 was Celsius. You said 0 degrees, which is actually also very intelligent on your part because surprisingly, not many people know that in America, unfortunately. But there you go. 0 degrees is correct. Now for Kelvin. I am a science geek.
I know.
Yeah, I used Kelvin in school in all my college majors, so I'm versed in this. This is something that is not general knowledge.
No.
Kelvin is a scale that actually determines the actual motion of molecules within every substance known. So there's a small reverberation of molecules, even in solids, called Brownian motion, that I did know this. And 0 Kelvin is actually the absence of all motion in the Brownian motion. So temperature is actually the measure of energy in a molecule. So on the Kelvin scale, water freezes at 273.15 degrees Kelvin.
Not bad. Nice music sound.
Yeah, exactly. 0 Kelvin is actually impossible to happen.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
This is actually scientifically impossible. We've gotten so close to a fraction of it in labs, but it's actually impossible.
Wow.
So yes, but the scale. So therefore, the scale that was used to create his name would be Celsius because 0 degrees water.
Right. Oh, that's super cool. Okay.
So you did not take down Sub-Zero.
It's
He kicked your
alas.
butt, ripped out your spine. Oh, man.
Subway. I know, bummer.
Well, you know what? It was a valiant effort, actually. Like that Boston Cow, that was pretty good. No power up, and you went in there and you didn't totally flop. You
Thank
had some
you.
answers.
We almost got it. Like 3/4 left.
It was good. Well, I mean, there's always next time, but
That's right.
Again, we're gonna take a quick break, get into a couple topics, some emails, and get out of here. But nice try, and take a break. That boss battle was really something. Maybe if he had a little support during the encounter, that would have helped. Support in gaming? Huh. Well, that's exactly what RaptorCow does for you. If you're a game developer or a company in the gaming industry, let RaptorCow be your power-up. We offer creative production assistance, marketing, business development, and our high score program, all designed to take you to the next level. Let RaptorCow help you bring your ideas into reality. Go to RaptorCow.com for more information right now. Seriously, pause the episode and go there. Like now. I'll wait. Alrighty, guys. So Alex had a near win with the battle against Sub-Zero. So close, yet so far. He went home with nothing, unfortunately. But hey, man, like I said, there's always next time. So so let's get into, again, we have a couple more minutes. Let's talk about the topic of the week. Did you have something you wanted to talk about today, Alex? I think you had a couple good ones, but
yeah. So I linked you guys an article that was talking about Jessica Curry and why she's taking a step back from the game industry. So for those of you who don't know, Jessica Curry is the composer and co-founder of the Chinese Room studio, and they're most famous for the games Dear Esther, Amnesia: A Machine for Pigs, and also most recently, Everybody Has Gone to the Rapture.
Right, great game.
And I'm excited to play it. So in this article was talking about like her frustrations with a lot of things, and so we're going to kind of just pick on one and go a bit further with there. So I feel like the big part of it that I want to talk about is sort of like the women in games thing, because it was something she writes about as like one of the stories that really struck me from the article is she talks about when they came up with the idea for Everybody That's Gone to the Rapture. Her husband, who's the co-founder, his name is Dan Pinchbeck. He was like, okay, great. We're going to go talk to our publisher. I think it's Activision. I don't know. But he was like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to
it was Sony. Yeah,
Sony,
when he pushed
sorry.
the game. That's right.
So he went to I think flew out here to speak with Sony about it. And when he gave the pitch for the game, he was like, he didn't mention specifically that it was his wife that had the idea. All he said was it's a company member who came up with this idea. And I don't, and so her frustration is she asked him about this, and he just told her that it was yeah, I just said some member of the company, and this really upset her because she feels like she suffered a ton of indignities throughout her career just for being a woman. It's the thought comes up, it's okay, if Dan had said that it was Jessica that had given the idea, would Sony have taken it seriously? That's sort of the crux of the issue, right? And the answer is we'll never know. We like to think the best in people, but there are definitely issues right now within women in games, and definitely women in music and games. That's even a smaller subset of that. So
there's so much to unpack on that.
There's a ton, right?
So what I was thinking on that one, as soon as you said that, is because going on that lines, kind of riffing on that, is if he would have said it was her idea, would they have taken it?
Who knows?
So, yeah, I'm going to kind of go off that, but this is also his wife too,
right.
Which a lot of people, which is even crazier.
True.
So that a lot of people don't know that when it's out now, but and she is also referred to his wife instead of her name.
Yep.
So, which is crazy to think about, especially someone who's successful and as great of talented person as she is. But I hope that two ways that he, as a husband, would not go and worry that if he said her name that it would not get taken. And I hope that Sony or other big publishers don't have that idea that, because a woman created something, that they wouldn't take it. Because I think that goes down a rabbit hole that is so...
it's not.
Not just the whole glass ceiling with women, because that's in most industries, but
Sure,
especially gaming industry, a male-dominant industry as it is, that would be just the ultimate disgusting thing to hear about. I mean, if that's the case, and if he thinks that, then what does that say about him as a position who's someone in an upper level position in the industry, of the way the industry is? I mean, that's just, oh man, I can't even. I would hope that that's not the case, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think that Dan consciously thought about it that way. From reading the article and listening
Even
to
subconsciously
talking about
poor.
it.
It's not
sure,
good.
no, that's fair. That's totally fair. But I don't want to. It's not I don't want to throw the entire blame on him for the situation, because it's a long line of this is a problem. This is just the one that surfaced in her article, probably because it's a bit more personal to her, and that's totally fine. But it's just an issue that subconsciously we have people are worried about who they say the idea is from because they want it to be successful, and the idea that the stigma, which is totally wrong, that women are less creative, it's 100% false. But it's something that's still lingering about, and it's something that we need to work on as a community of game devs or whatever, to sort of push past that and not feel the need to sort of hide who the idea is from.
Right. I mean, that seems like the most archaic idea I've ever heard. I mean, granted, women are still fighting for rights in a lot of different business sectors. And that's just, it is right now. And it's unfortunate that that is the case. But I would have hoped that we're past the point of stifling ideas because of gender. And credibility because of gender. Now, I understand in certain, because again, I always allude back to my time in sports. Working in the NFL, you don't see any NFL coaches around. I mean, there's the first NFL coach who got hired back in April. I think she's a strength coach, and and even athletic trainers, people who do sports injuries. There's maybe 5 in the entire NFL, and so it's a very male-dominated world.
Industry. Yeah.
And it is what it is. And so that sense, their thinking in the NFL is very archaic in a lot of ways. But I would hope that an industry like the video game industry, that's more mainstream, that's more entertainment based, more out there, more in the media,
Yes.
as far as like behind the scenes, because you don't know what goes on behind the scenes in the NFL. But
not at all.
in entertainment, you often do. You often get glimpses like this. And I mean, because ideas are the property. Like what you create is the property. So I don't know. I can't imagine that it's the thinking is that, and it kind of disgusts me. And like I said, we definitely, if that is the case, then there's something needs to be done as far as like kind of changing that thinking. To me,
no, I would say, you know, since he's a higher up, you know, in position in the company, and you I'm sure you know this too. Like, you know, back in the NFL, you know, head coaches talk with head coaches, and you know, you probably talk with other strength trainers and stuff like that. So in this industry, higher up guys talk to higher up guys. So he knows the lingo. He knows how everyone talks, what everyone thinks. I think he approached this whole situation knowing how to approach it. So hopefully, in coming back to what Alex said, I think he just pitched it so it would be successful.
Right.
And he think this is what it took for it to become successful.
But that's unfortunate that's what it takes, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's an issue that should be brought up and talked about so everybody is aware of it so we can all work to change it. Like if we don't talk about this.
What's the why then? Let's
the why of what?
Like, why would that be the case? Why would, I mean, you mentioned the whole women are less creative. I don't think I've ever really heard something like that. Well, like, other than, I'm just saying,
so
I know you mentioned
that's like a
stigma.
musical thing.
Okay.
So like how many? So I come from music world. So like how many? Can you name a female composer?
No, I really can't.
Exactly, right? So like that's an issue. And are they not talented? No, they're phenomenal. I've heard incredible music by women composers, and I've worked for one, and they're great people and they're very talented. There's like a whole other barrier because it's just like it's so heavily male dominated that for whatever reason the people hiring don't are like either they come from like an old-fashioned time period, especially in film, like what people are born in the 50s 60s who are hiring right now, and that's
perpetuated. Like someone needs to break
exactly
the mold.
Yeah, totally.
It's the old guard running the show still.
Yep. So I mean, I'm hopeful with like a lot of things, like just like a lot of social issues, that as like our generation starts to take over, that these sort of start to phase out. But it's not a perfect system, and what can we do about it now to improve? I don't know. Like, at least within the music world, like there are very few known female composers. Like you can say now you know Jessica Curry. She writes phenomenal music, but like she's extremely frustrated with it and has sort of said
openly too, which is
openly.
Could be detrimental to her career, but she's so good that I think she'll be okay and rebound. And hopefully her outing of everything kind of starts some kind of discussion like it is on this show like right now.
Yeah. So I don't have the answer of like what's the best way to like combat it, other than like the people who are making decisions need to not be biased. And
but how do you change that? Like, I think the people down low need to just rise up and figure out. Like, I mean, even someone like you who when you get to the top level, you need to just keep that good mental thought, and
of course,
and that's your biggest contribution you can do. And then if you ever have influence in that sense, like, make sure you exercise it and exercise that non-bias and choose someone because of their skill set, not because of their gender or the norms.
Yeah.
I think you would do that, which unfortunately we don't want to have to wait for that, but it's as like John said, the old guard moves out, like the new guard needs to come in with the good ideas and the good mentality.
I think her husband kind of dropped the ball, honestly.
Oh, totally. That's what kind of gets me.
He shouldn't have been like, oh, this person at my company. He should have just been like, yeah, my wife, who's a
totally
musician, did this, and he's obviously has some pull.
Actually,
like
he shouldn't even said his wife. He should have mentioned her name and the company. Like, separate the business, because she's referred to as his wife instead of her name. Right. It's like I would have totally dropped that. I mean, in business, like, separate that. Like, this is her. She's like a creative. She is the founder of the company with So like, good Lord.
Right. I think he just really dropped the ball. I think he's, again, this is all reading between the lines and a broad brush here, but his main concern was probably getting the deal done.
Right.
So.
Yep. At what cost, though?
Yeah, like, that situation is what it is. I feel like the best thing we can do is just, like, if you have the opportunity or the power, if you have the right amount of influence and are able to say something when there's an indignity happening, like speak up and say it, because otherwise it won't
Right.
change. But like obviously, like I can't go up to some people and be like, dude, what are you doing? That's totally not cool, because I'm not in a position to do that. But as you sort of grow with your career, and if this is something that you are believing or are passionate about, just like make an effort to say something, as opposed to just letting it slide like it's been sliding the past 50 however many years.
Right. Yeah, it's again like there's a lot of injustices in a lot of industries.
Yes.
And like I said, women have been fighting for a lot of that glass ceiling for a long time, and it seems like that mode of thinking is even a little bit farther back than women have gotten in a lot of other industries, which is kind of gross to think of. It sounds like we can even look at that specific subset you're talking about, music and gaming, which is a very specific subset, but they're even farther back. They have less progress than women have been struggling to make, and that's kind of rough. So I think maybe taking a bead on other industries that have made those progressive steps is important. Maybe people reaching out in that industry saying, "Hey, what have you done to gain more rights, or to gain the acceptance, or to gain that that credibility to get to the next level?" Because they're still going to struggle, and they're going to struggle for a while. But I think the music and gaming industry it needs to at least be on the same level, in the same time frame, because it sounds like they're 15, 20 years behind.
Yeah, it feels that way sometimes. So, I mean,
well, hey, that's a great topic. I mean, we have no magic answers. But
no, and it's just something that like needs to be brought up. It needs to be talked about repeatedly, and so we can all, when we have the opportunity to make a difference, we can be an ally to them and do our best to support them.
For sure,
they deserve it.
Exactly. Well, right on. That's a great topic, and we appreciate it bringing it up. Well, let's. We got time for a couple emails,
Sure.
and then let's get out of here, because I know you got somewhere to be there today, Alex. So
yeah, I'm going to a conference.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, let's answer a couple emails and then get out of here. You got a couple more minutes?
Yeah, totally.
Sweet. Alrighty. So if you want to email the show, you can to jtexgamecast@raptorcow.com. You can also get on our Facebook group, send us questions in there. It's this John and Ted's Excellent Gamecast group on Facebook, and you can get us on social media as well. So, this episode, first email comes in from Kylie from San Diego. And, we kind of missed it last week because we had a lot to talk about. But she said, hi, John and Ted, and then also probably you, Alex.
Sure.
Paris Games Week unveiled a lot of stuff. I was particularly excited for Wild. Did you see any other trailer or any other reveals that really impressed you? I saw Wild, and I thought it was pretty wild. That was pretty cool. Did you have a chance to look at that, Alex, at all?
No, I haven't seen any of this, actually. I know that Sony gave a press conference, but other than that, I have not looked into it.
Yeah, Wild is a pretty awesome game. It looks cool, at least. It's like an open world Skyrim-esque type game where you play as like a caveman.
Cool.
Like the kind of in the the Pleistocene times, and you're kind of like a shaman, and you have control over all the animals in nature. And as you level up and get more powerful, and it showed the guy controlling a hawk, and then controlling riding a bear, and then controlling a rabbit around these cannibals, and distracting them with crows, and having and then this giant serpent goddess comes out of the thing, this naked serpent goddess, because one of his tribe members got bitten by a snake, and he had to find the cure. And so it was kind of cool. It showed him traversing the land and doing all this stuff, and it looked pretty awesome. It didn't really give any insight into what the whole point of the game is, but it just seemed like a really crazy open world kind of experience from a different realm. It was interesting. So
I like that. It sounds cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, playing as a caveman, cool.
Yeah, that never happens. So,
yeah, and there was cool. Animal control. He controlled animals. He controlled the hawk, and the hawk had special vision, and then went down and swooped down, and he picked up a snake as the hawk, and then it dropped it in his hand, or whatever. And then they went to the altar of the serpent goddess, and then the hawk followed him and then dropped the snake on it, and then the serpent goddess came, and that was the whole point of this scene was you're one of the village members is like, hey, it was actual gameplay footage, so it's the creators and developers playing the game and doing commentary over it, and you have to go, heal this person in your tribe, and you have to go down. It showed in the distance the serpent altar, which is like really miles away, but you can see it in the pillars, and you have to like travel to it. And so like he did all this call. He called a bear and just jumped on it and just riding like through the country on this giant bear. It was pretty cool. Yeah, it looks neat. I would definitely check it out. So yes, Kylie, Wild looks good. There was a lot of VR at the press conference too that they announced. So we'll see what happens Paris Games Week. Yeah, I guess Sony. They didn't really do the GDC. I think they skipped that press conference and went to Paris Games Week instead. So, yep, pretty good. So moving on, next email. It says, "Oh, this one's for you." It says John, Ted, and Alex. There you go.
Yay!
How important do you think music in games is for atmosphere besides the obvious? I know you want a scary vibe for a particular level or an epic score for overall game's theme music to set the tone, but let's get to the nitty-gritty. What's the real scoop on the sound in the games? Thoughts? I think we covered that pretty well, but yeah, any other thoughts? And this comes from Justin S.
Music can make or break a game / scenes. So...
Exactly. I think so too. What about you, Alex?
I mean, of course I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, yes.
Nitty gritty, he says.
I know. I'm trying to think what can I dive into? It's hard without a specific example. So, I mean, so for sure, let's take like a scary level for instance. Like, I feel like horror games, which are phenomenal, are often like strongest when they use music sparsely.
Yeah, with silence. Yeah.
So like, because you're already scared just knowing it's a horror game, so you're expecting to be afraid. So when the music finally creeps in, it adds so much more. Like music is most effective when it's not overused. So silence is just as important as having score all the time, because if you have score all the time, ear fatigue happens.
I agree with that.
And you're just like, I don't need to listen to this anymore. But then if you have like a game like Amnesia, where you are just kind of exploring the environment, and then suddenly a music cue creeps in, like that's going to scare you way more than just having like eerie music in the background.
Right.
So I feel like as far as like nitty gritty, you can get into like attaching music to certain objects in game, or like when you like step into this room and a new cue starts up, like that can be like nitty gritty of like scoring the actual gameplay of like the moment that the player is in. But I went into a lot of this already, so I just feel like it's really important to talk like to say like silence is really big, because especially in horror, because he mentioned horror.
Yeah, don't overuse music then. That's
good.
That's true.
Because,
that's good.
Yeah, people use music as like a band-aid if they don't like their product, and it just like doesn't help anything.
It's worse. Oh.
So I hope that kind of answers your question, Justin. But I rambled a lot earlier, so there should be a lot of information.
Yeah, go back and listen to all that good stuff. Yeah. All right. Next email comes in from Cody T from Oregon. He says, this is kind of a cool one. What are some games you would like to go back and play that you missed out or just happened to skip? And for John, it would be, what are some games you maybe heard about or read about that you would like to be able to play one day if there's a way to make them accessible? That's a good question, I think.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I'll start with that. I just have a couple that I know that kind of people are going to be like, what? You never played those? I mean, yeah. So I never played the original BioShock. And people are going to be like, what? I know, I never played BioShock. I played the second iterations, but I never played BioShock. I never played Red Dead Redemption, and I really want to go back and play that. The old Wild West cowboy type game. Yeah, I never played that. I never played Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Didn't play that. And I didn't play, wait for it, Zelda Ocarina of Time. I know. I know, everybody.
No.
Send your hate mail in too, but I never played. So those are 4 games that I would probably like to go back and play. What about you?
I guess I would say it would be like Final Fantasy-ish games, like, like RPG games. I never really got into those when I could see, because I was more like, shoot everything, blow up everything, beat up people, like Golden Axe, Double Dragon type stuff. So,
yeah, great game.
I never got into the Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, stuff like that. So, or like Ultima. I would probably get into those. I probably maybe a year ago now, but I got into Mud. They call them Mud. I don't know what it stands. I'm not sure what it stands for off the top of my head. But there's Mud games where basically they're text-based games.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But they're kind of like Final Fantasy-ish, where you build
text-based RPGs. Yeah.
Yeah, you build up characters, and you pick a warrior or a mage or a thief or whatever, and Like I said, it's all text based. So I just jump in a terminal, a command line, and I play this game, and it's all online too. So you play against all these other people.
Oh wow.
And, man, I got sucked into that. Like I would just stay up like all night. It was like I was 18 again or whatever. But
maybe you play like WoW or World of Warcraft, which is like that, but like a visual one.
I had to pull away from it because I was just like, I can't stop playing. So I appreciate those types of games now. So I would like to be able to find a way to, like I said, play Final Fantasy or something. That'd be cool.
Cool. What about you, Alex?
So I will join you, and I have not played any Zelda games.
Oh.
So they can hate us together. It's fine.
We'll join the hate club.
Yeah, that's fine. So I would like to play some Zelda games. Well, maybe I should play. I'm not really particularly interested because I just feel like it won't have the same effect for me because at this point everybody's in love with it for nostalgia value.
Right. No, what games are you interested to go back and play? I mean, not that you think you should. But
I'd like to play. I'd probably like to play Zelda because everybody's talked about it. But I have missed out. So I did PS2 and then Xbox.
That's a weird little jump.
Yeah. So I missed out on a lot of Naughty Dog stuff. So I have not played The Last of Us.
Okay,
I have not played Uncharted.
Oh wow. Yeah.
These are all games I would really like to go back and check out. And I did not. I'm playing through Dark Souls now, so I'm finally getting through the original Dark Souls.
Okay,
just fun. Those are like some of the big ones that I think.
Right on.
The list, I'm sure, continues.
Right. Yeah, we all have stuff that we skip somehow, but I mean, we've played a lot of games, but yeah, there's some that we've missed. So let's see. Take maybe one more. Oh yeah, let's go one more. This little goofy one here. It says, "Hey, excellent adventure gang. So, what are some of your most embarrassing moments?" And this comes from Gerald from Cincinnati. Any embarrassing moments off the top of the head, guys, before we get out of here?
I have this one epic story I always tell anytime something like this comes up. So I was probably 5 or 6, something like that.
Oh, you can't be embarrassed at 5 or 6.
No, check this out though. But so I had an older cousin. I'm the oldest child, and there's only 2 of us. But I had this older cousin who I always just thought was the coolest. And like I always wished he was like my big brother, like he was awesome, right? And so at the town I lived in, we had this thing called Kings Hill. And it snows here in New England, so we're going sledding on Kings Hill. And a portion of the way down, these people made like a ramp, but they set it up so you would hit the ramp you'd start at like halfway down the hill and you'd hit the ramp. But I told my cousin, "Hey, I'm going to go up to the very top and I'm going to hit the ramp." And he's like, Awesome, let's do it. So he clears out everyone. He's like, "Everyone, watch out. My cousin Jonathan's going to go down. He's going to hit the ramp. Everyone move out of the way. Watch out." So now it's this whole big scene, right? So I start going down. I'm heading for the ramp. I hit the ramp. And it's like a movie or a cartoon. I hit the ramp. I'm flying in the air. I'm at least 6 to 8 feet above the ground. And then all of a sudden, the sled just slowly comes out from under me and starts to like go ahead of me. And I'm just kind of like, oh no. Like, I didn't think this all the way through. The sled comes out from under me. I land flat on my back and then just finish going all the way down the hill. And then my cousin comes running down. He's like, "You okay? You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "That was awesome." But I just totally was like, "Yeah, didn't think of holding on to the sled as I hit the ramp."
Yeah, but see, you're a young kid, so that's okay. You bounce back. No, I'll tell you an embarrassing moment. This is like during the peak embarrassing time. So I'll go quick on this. So this is, I think, 7th grade, like 13, track practice, right? And in track and field. And this is the time when like everyone did track. So it was like 100 kids out there, 3 grades, 6th, 7th, 8th graders. And, so I'm in the middle grade. There's cute 8th grade girls out doing track. And this day, and, I went to high school in Washington, and so it was kind of rainy out, but, the track was wet.
It's not so.
Right, yeah. So it was kind of rainy out. But this day, I forgot my track shorts. So I was wearing whitey-tighties, and I played basketball, so I had some snap pants in my bag. So I put on my snap pants, and, whatever.
No.
And I did track practice, right? So we're going through warm-ups and everything, like high knees, butt kicks, and then we start doing the running and jogging. And mind you, it's a little wet out, and there's a couple puddles in the track, so everyone's kind of jumping over it. Well, when we start doing like the fast running back and forth, we're running like 20 yards bursts, 100 kids going down in like 10 groups. I start running, and my left hand thumb gets stuck in my snap pants and just rips my pants straight off down. They get tangled up around my ankles. I trip, fall, roll into the puddle. My whitey tighties get all wet, and my butt and everything is just out. And I'm just like standing there, like on the ground, just like, oh no. And I stand up, and it's just a mess, and the whole 100 kids are just, laughing, and that was standing there. So then the coaches come over to take their jackets while I snap my pants off one button at a time or back up. That was a good 7th grade experience there. And then, I didn't
Did you get
that
a
down.
nickname out of that?
I had many nicknames after that, but I have a post-traumatic stress syndrome. I've forgotten them all. So, Alex, anything embarrassing before we get out of here?
I have like nothing that good. I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, I think anything I've blocked out like
Exactly.
strongly. Though I was just like literally like during the boss battle, I was like, I don't know the audio question. This is awful. Like, so I had this moment of like, this is what I do, and they're like, you'll know the audio answer. I was like, I have no idea. This is good. This looks really good on me. So that was an embarrassing moment I just had.
Oh,
but the other
go.
ones I've blocked out. So I'll block that moment out in like a couple hours.
Yeah,
and then,
good. Just wipe it clean. So you're
exactly.
you're clean. So that's good. You're a blank slate. Nice, nice. Well, it's about that time. I'm gonna get you out of here. So before we roll, we always do a closeout segment, and the closeout segment this week is going to have to do with music again. Thankfully, to our awesome guest, and this is the sound of gaming and focusing on the NES. So we each brought a song or a soundtrack from a game that affected us, and we're going to briefly describe that real quick. And I guess I'll start with that. Is from the NES, there's so many, but just for one that was just kind of simple and fun, was Kirby's Adventure. The soundtrack for that is amazing. There's so many good songs, and I remember as a kid playing that, and each different song had a moment, and it had an emotion attached to it. So there was the happy songs, the excited songs when you fought the bosses, the fun, the epic songs, and even the theme music was just so inspiring. And every time that music came on, I would just love playing that game. I probably beat it like 10 times just to hear the music. So that's something that I can still hum all the songs right now, and they're pretty good for chip tunes too. They're very epic scores, a lot of different lines going on. So Kirby's Adventure, it would be mine for the NES.
Super Mario Brothers for me. Do 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 do. I mean, it just brings me back to being a little kid sitting in the living room, so many feet away from the TV because you got your NES controller with the cord attached to it, and I don't know, just brings back happy memories sitting in front of that and playing this groundbreaking technology on my TV, and every time music is so powerful. Every time I hear that that song. Now you can get it as like a ringtone and all kinds of stuff, but anytime I hear that, it just brings me back, to the mid 80s, and it's just funny how music's that powerful like that.
Right on. Alex, what do you got for us before we get out of here?
So I mentioned earlier, but I'll get into it now. I did not own an NES, so my first console when I was young was a PS2. So I missed a ton of these games. So I don't know if I have a favorite. Well, so the first NES soundtrack I really got into was like only like 3 years ago.
That's okay. That's fine.
That'd be Chrono Trigger.
Oh yeah.
Which is a great. I watched the entire Giant Bomb endurance run of Chrono Trigger, which is hilarious.
For the SNES though.
Yeah, for the original. Yeah, SNES. And it was just like so fun. The music is incredibly good, and they do a phenomenal job. Like taking the limitation of like 4 channels and making something that's incredibly musical. So awesome. Great soundtrack.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. And thanks, Alex, for being on the show today.
Yeah, of course.
Seriously. John, he's pretty awesome, huh? Good insight on music. Like I said, this is Alex Cote. He is an awesome composer. Check him out. Go and give yourself a quick shameless plug before we get out of here.
Okay. I mean, so you can follow me on Twitter at Alexander_Wise, which is my first and middle name. And my website is just www.alexander-cote.com. And I don't know, reach out, man. I love hearing from people. So if
what's
you
your gamer tag if you want to play Dota?
Oh, my gamer tag on Steam is my last name, Cote, all caps. There's a little picture of Tide Hunter, and if you know Dota, you'll know who that is. And he's super cute. So yeah, and you can hear my work on SoundCloud via my website, and if you have any questions or want to just say hello, please reach out. All the contact info is available there.
Sweet.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, yeah, you guys can get a hold of us. You guys know where we're at. Twitter, we're at JTEX Gamecast. I'm at TedWords44. John's at JNATO7. Instagram's the same, JTEX Gamecast. Join the Facebook group, John and Ted's Excellent Gamecast group. Find us on iTunes, subscribe, share it with your friends. You know the deal. Also, make sure if you want to send in some info into us, you want a boss battle question, use the hashtag boss battle or the subject line. And yeah, that's just going to do it for episode number 5 of John and Ted's Excellent Gamecast. And we will see you next week.
All right. Have a good one, guys. Game over.